Yeah, I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Junior! Sully 1021, what up, baby? Turn me the fuck up, chat. Let's go. Lock it in. We're locked in, chat. Turn me up. Already? Yeah, you guys are fucking on it. Yo, you guys are sitting by your phones. Fias, Alex, Tank Sinatra. What's up, baby? How are you? Alton! Alton! What up, man? Where the fuck is my chapstick? Chat, where's my chapstick? Alton! Alton, where's my chapstick, bro? What guns am I running today? I am using the... That's a great question, man. That's a wonderful question. I'm actually trying to switch it up. Trying to see what I like. Eric Santana, Pilot Clark, Porsche Guy, Hendo Camaro. What up, baby? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I may be the greatest keyboard and mouse player. Hey, I sent you an invite, by the way, Eric. You want to join up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me hit that.
Saw you. What's up, man? How are you, brother? How you been? Saw you. Obey Stab. No, it's Obey STA 89. I think it's Obey Stab. What's up, man? How are you? Pilot Clark, teach you how to play the game, bro. I suck myself, man. I just want to numb the pain for a minute. I just want to run away. I don't know what else to say. Alex, great COD player. I appreciate you, Alex. Much love to you, brother. Did I not say what's up to anybody? What did I miss? Yo, TT 1122. What up, man? Lock it in, lock it in, Teague. What's up, man? How are you, brother? We got people in the Kick. We got people in the Twitch. We got people on YouTube. This is goated, brother. Nah, Obey, bro. I'm trying to be like you, man. You're the GOAT. You're the GOAT. You're the GOAT. You're the GOAT, brother. So annoying how booty cheeks COD streamers are and have thousands of viewers. What do you mean, Tank? Oh, appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you. Any Riz tips? I got you, bro. Porsche Guy. Hey, man. I'll be dropping them all night. Big Cajun, what's up, man? All right, Eric. What guns using, brother?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say it again.
I said what guns using.
Running the Squall.
Oh, yeah, the Conan Squall.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. And switching between the MP7, whatever the heck they call that now.
Mm-hmm.
The Vel.
The Vel, yeah.
Or or the the classic. You got to run the classic Intervention.
Oh man, Intervention's goated. But do you play Modern Warfare 2, right? I'm assuming back in 2009.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's the greatest COD of all time, no doubt.
It's
wait, no, I like. You have to agree, Eric. Come on, brother. Don't do this to me, man.
I'm gonna give it a tie between Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2. I think it's really hard to tell. Like, it's really hard to split the two. And I think the story from Modern Warfare 1 was so good that trying to top that, like, it didn't land on the second one. I love the campaign. I'll play it through once. I want the story. I want to know what's going on. I want to know why I care about these people, and then I want to shoot everybody. So
that makes sense. I got to be honest with you. For one, I didn't start COD until like World at War, which is right after Modern Warfare. I didn't really have that much time. Right. You know what I mean? So I can't really say if like I can't really say on COD 4. COD 4, I played it though. It's good. I like it. But honestly, when I grew up on Modern Warfare 2, man, I was addicted as a kid, bro. Addicted, brother. Loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that older generation where I grew up where there was no looking up or down on these games. It was straight up like you're just Duke Nukem running around shooting everybody. It was a whole different world out there.
Say less. You have any kids?
I've got two, yeah.
You got two? Awesome, man. So
I
let
do.
me ask you, are they Warzone demons as well, or is it just you?
No, it is just me. My oldest is starting to get into video games. She's doing a little bit of Fortnite. Just kind
Start her off on
of
mouse and keyboard. Call it a
Use
day.
this time to practice. We will be
yeah.
deploying soon.
I got her a brand new controller from AIM Controllers.
Okay, cool.
So talked to Brandon, talked to them for a little bit, and they ended up doing a custom one for her. It came out super cool, dinosaurs, all that stuff. So yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah. Did you say that you went to school for like software engineering or something like that? Am I tripping?
I went. No, I went to school for American histories, but ended up teaching myself coding, teaching myself some of the skills.
Oh, word. Did you like go to a boot camp or something?
There's a. So when I was, this guy's shooting me. Stop shooting me. There is a couple of online courses that you can take that are free, and so for me it was just a lot of, I want to learn how to build this stuff, I want to learn how to do it, and poking at it as I went. Didn't pursue it too hard professionally.
Okay. Alright, let's go.
But, you know, it's one of those things to have in your pocket.
Love to see it. Let's get it.
Anyway, we can make this channel not locked because I can't have both in my headset.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I'm gonna get it chilling.
Alright, cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, cool.
Open.
I'm going to Big Blue Building by Zaya. Yo, Neglected, what's up, baby?
Hey,
What do you mean,
here.
Neglected? Chat, is there something wrong with the Twitch cam?
There we go.
Those kids down for. He's knocked.
Positive ID on the bounty target. Eliminate them.
Taking the long route, sorry.
You were saying?
I got caught up in the plane, switching my Discord or my audio over, so
Oh, you're good.
I'm late to the party.
Can you make it this far? Or I gotta meet you up there.
Yeah, I got you.
How old are you, kid?
I got 8 and yeah, no worries. 8 and 3. So nice little spread. 8 and 3.
8 and 3, that's awesome.
Gas is closing in. Enemy dropping into the AO.
You said you have one girl, is the other one a boy?
Nope, both girls. So
Both girls. Oh,
girl
man,
dad in
that's
it.
both worlds. Toby said it best, man. Girls are the best.
They are absolutely. Keep you up at night, but they're the best.
Oh yeah, chat, I'm dropping a 50, guaranteed. There's a Tempest Torrent right here? I might have to fade. Nah, they nerfed it.
Oh, I'm getting hit straight ahead of you. Got self. I'm good. Plates.
Man.
That was rough.
Unfortunate, right?
It happens though.
Oh wow. He was plating him and just melees me. I'm having a decent start too. I just need our boy to stay alive. You're on PC, right? Or are you on console?
No, I'm on Xbox.
Oh, say less.
So.
Have you always been on Xbox your whole life?
You know, I've gone back and forth between PlayStation and Xbox. I own both. PS4 and an Xbox. Microsoft has done a pretty good job of creating an ecosystem. You got all your achievements, you got all the games are backwards compatible, the controllers are backwards compatible, so it's kind of like justifying switching is tough.
Any money?
I need some cash. I need some cash.
One of you guys gotta give me the money, brother. All right, let's rock and roll. Fine, here.
You absolute dunce!
Oh, I'm dead. Kid on the roof. Why is he shooting at me, bro?
What in the snot nose? Come on, Green. He's gonna pop that door. He's gonna pop around that door. Don't run away. Green, come back.
There's gonna be rotating on you guys. I don't have the plates for this fight. I don't have the plates for that.
One more.
I got his back. Pushes. Keep the light thing up. You're good.
No.
Yep. I'm gonna watch his back, but again, I don't have plates to help him.
Hostile mortar strike near
Yeah, I'm
your
calling
position.
it. Good luck, brother. Yeah, I had a feeling. These kids are probably gonna chase. They're kind of sweaty. As long as we're still in the
Your
game.
squad mate is redeploying. Well done.
Surviving.
Survive and thrive.
Your squad mate's back on station. Good work. You have reinforcements inbound.
Oh, fuck. Got a sniper.
I got one here, right here.
Moving.
He's on me. Woo!
Broken. He's broken. Oh, fuck. I'm knocked.
They're on me.
Man. You gotta stay alive. It's all on you. No.
Oh, get out of here!
What are the chances our boy stays alive, chat? What do you guys think? Let's
Jeez.
say he's dead in 20. He's not dead by 19 seconds. I'll do 30 push-ups.
Shocked.
Okay, so he knows it a little bit. Oh, fuck. I'm so tired. I use a burger. I love it. A loadie too. Bet I'm going right back.
You got gas moving in. Advise you move to the safe zone now. Your squad mate's back on station. Good work.
Oh, they're camping our loadout. Primetime Warzone right there, baby.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Primetime Warzone.
They're camping the loader, they're camping the buy station. Are you really playing Warzone?
There's too many.
Where are they chilling
Here,
at?
I'm gonna go back to my gun. See if I can make a play over there.
I got one right here.
Over here.
I'm gonna rotate.
Right here.
UAV overhead.
Oh no, is it there, Yui?
I've got a couple more coming up this hill. Gun in here.
It's absolute too. Lord have mercy.
I just dove into the water down here. Boom. They are mad at me. Someone's not happy with me. There's a loadout that cleared out yet.
Okay. See the killer camping right there. Got a sniper far back.
I'll pick up my.
I wanna rotate on these kids, try and get behind them, and then make a play.
Alright. Can you live ping the sniper or get close to him? I got my glass out.
Yeah, for sure. He was like south from us. I don't see the glint anymore though. You cannot make this up. Where is he? You can't make this up, brother. I swear, I'm gonna clip this. I gotta clip this, bro. You can't make it up.
He's like right here. He's like right here.
Yeah, I dropped out. I'm safe. Just a bomb, bro. There's just no shot. That's how I die.
Going for the save, yo.
Looks.
I'm not letting you go out like this.
Right on this hill here. There's gotta be sniper ammo somewhere, yeah?
Oh, I love that lag, brother. Do you feel those lag spikes too, or just me?
Off and on. My internet's usually dicey, so.
Did you ever think about running on PC?
You'd have to have a decent PC to do it, make it worthwhile.
Enemy
So
UAV
that's just an
active.
investment I don't have.
Makes sense.
I don't have on the roadmap right now.
Movement spotted.
Got one right here at the car. Ah,
Fire sale active.
yep.
Buy station prices have been reduced.
I'm back here as well. Verticality.
Oh my god.
Tossing smoke grenade. Stay with me.
Stone's coming
Gas
in.
is moving.
Me.
I mean, you can't make this game up, brother. You literally can't make it up.
Taking effective fire.
Somebody in the middle right here.
Safe zone.
Need medical aid.
Oh, what? He's right here, right here. Live ping. Pushing you, yellow. He's pushing you.
He's running.
Sweaty.
I wouldn't even consider these kids sweaty.
Where I come from, they're sweaty because I am mediocre. Average. I am average. Statistically.
Alright, get us out of there. What is the average like KD of a game or of like a lobby? The
You know,
average KD of,
it's
like,
hard
all
to tell in
players.
Warzone.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell in Warzone 2 right now. But in Warzone 1, I know at kind of the middle of the game, mid Cold War, the average KD was about a 0.72
Really?
to 0.75.
Average?
Average. And the average by the end of it, kind of right there at the end, the average ended up raising up to being like a 0.8 to 0.9. I think a little closer towards the 9 end, probably in the end of season 5 there. So there's definitely a rising in skill level and a drop off of kind of the bottom end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, when it's fully healthy and they've got, you know, enough players, I mean, the average is like a 0.7.
Do you actually have a, like, not that it matters at all, like, do you have actually a below a 1?
Right now I'm sitting at about a 1.2. So
That's fair.
not quite.
No, you're better than average.
But,
That's all you can say, right?
Yeah, above average. But you know, it's funny. I went with the username because I had the worst internet. I was playing on a 4G hotspot.
Wow.
So 150 millisecond ping was a good day, and so I just lost every single gunfight.
Yeah.
And it was wild. It's what drove me to learn more about the game and get better at it.
That's respect.
Because my internet wasn't helping.
How long did it take for you to learn coding?
You know, I poked at it for probably a good year and a half. Kind of stopped when Java took over because that was just a whole nother level of work of skill that I don't
have that squall class anymore. Tunefully, my bad, brother.
Yeah, it took about a good year to get good at it.
Can I ask what environments you know how to do? Like Java, what other scripts?
Mostly base HTML, CSS. I can read a lot of things better than I can actually code in them. So like I can look at something and, you know, in Java or in some of these other languages, I can see what it's doing and understand what's going on. But being able to actually conceptualize it and draw it out is It's not my forte.
So could you make a better game than Call of Duty? Bottom line, we want to know if you can make Pong. Yo, Nefty Ron, what's up, baby?
Could I make a better game than Call of Duty?
Warm up while you
Depends.
can. We will deploy soon.
You give me enough people, I could make a game probably as good as Call of Duty on its best days, but it might not be the game for everybody, and I think that's the biggest problem that you run into.
Enemy soldier incoming.
I guess a better overall question: do you enjoy this game?
You know, I actually do for the most part. There's a lot of stuff that I wish they would do better. You know, I wish the movement was snappier. I wish I could run a little bit faster. But overall, I do kind of enjoy the game.
Enemy dropping
Compared
into
to
the AO.
like
Warm up is over. Stand by for deployment.
compared to like when Warzone 1 was kind of towards the back end of it, when it was such a fast movement-based game, and as a console player, you're locked at 80 FOV.
Yeah.
It's kind of disadvantage that's really difficult to deal with, especially as you want to do more, you know, skillful movements, and you're just held back by not being able to see the person you're trying to turn on.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. You want to go back to the same spot? Area?
Looks like a solid
Yeah,
LZ
yeah.
to
Allies
me.
to keep your squad in the fight.
What's your
Alright,
PR?
soldier. Mark a drop point for your squad.
PR in Warzone 1 was 22.
22, say? Are you playing Rebirth a lot?
I did play a lot of Rebirth. That I actually dropped on the big map, and it was a wild unicorn of a game.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Give me a second to land. I didn't hear what you said.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Oh, game over. What the? It fucking turned on.
Bitch. Bitch. God.
I'd fancy some mid-tower round.
How dare you? Chased a guy, he just had the nerve to run around the corner and get shot by somebody else.
Oh man, I had no plates.
Yeah, no, I dropped my PR on the big map, so I was kind of proud of that.
Mm-hmm. One day, Brad, one day.
Gas is moving.
But this kid's oblivious.
Man.
He's the awareness of a goldfish.
Whoa. I followed him into not a great
all good.
spot. Not what I wanted.
You got 4 seconds and we're alive. Oh, or we're not.
Ah!
It is hard.
The wrong dang gun.
It's all good. I only have to see, like, it's about this point, I'm just like, okay. Well, I guess you could say my problem overall with this game is that you can review as much gameplay as you want, but there's no getting better. I think that's overall. I feel like there's nothing to work on. You can't go into a private match and, I mean, work on your aim, sure, it's one thing. But
Yeah.
if like they cap you off at a certain like skill level, it's like, okay, cool, well, you're good enough. If like that's what it comes down to in terms of movement, in terms of like fluidity of the game. You can't even buy more than one UAV.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to like look at what they've done with this game versus where Warzone 2 was, and you know, I'm one of those big nerds that reads all the details that come out, everything I can get my hands on, because I want to know what's going on.
Right.
And so looking over everything, it really feels like they're trying to penalize players that use broken movement, and they wanted to lock the game down, in my opinion, so that you don't have slide canceling that resets task sprint, and like, you know, you had some of these other movement kids showing off their G hopping or, you know, all that stuff. And I think the people in charge don't want that, because I'm guessing it chases off kind of the lower skilled players. They don't want to run into that very often.
Mm-hmm. So this is my question. The average player has a .75 KD, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to guess, I'm not sure if you have the number off the top of your head, how many people do you actually think play Warzone on a day-to-day basis? Like, how many active players are there?
There are. I feel like J God had these numbers. I feel like him and Warzone Ranked got together and put some numbers together on how many games they were seeing a day. And I can't off the top of my head remember what it is. But, I think they're running, I want to say it was like 100,000 people on at any given time.
So this was my entire argument, because I hear people say this a lot. People talk about how there was all this broken movement and the skill gap was a little bit too large, and I agree completely. I was that kid, the B-hop kid, the YY. That was me. I promise you to God, I did all of that, and I loved every second of it, and I don't regret it for a second. I think the stim shots were a little too far. I think slide canceling, yeah, I think maybe that was a little too far too. That was definitely a broken movement. But for the most part, I feel like the problem was never the skill gap. I think the problem was skill-based matchmaking, because you have to think there's not many players that can do that. I think if you take away skill-based matchmaking completely, then what are the chances you run into that YY slide canceling kid? Even if people are using the Nat Geo and these VPNs and whatever, what are the odds? There's only a handful of people that you're going to run into that can do that. And when you do, it's like, oh, well, it's a good player. I guess.
So there's an interesting...
Actually,
so an interesting happened. So
I'm going to rehash. I want you to bring it up again when we talk.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up again. I'm sorry. So I don't want you to wait.
Yeah, no worries. No. Totally fine.
This is something I've vented to with my chat a lot. Like even in that last game, like I felt like there's nothing we could do. I didn't hear anybody. I couldn't. Even if you can hear, like even if you make a mistake in Warzone 1 where you couldn't hear somebody, it's like okay, cool. Well, stim shot, play it around the corner, use the movement a bit, and then.
Yeah, it definitely also feels like they wanted to make DMZ, like they wanted to see how much DMZ Warzone players will tolerate.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a disconnect a little bit in some of that.
Game chat.
Yeah, I totally down to just kind of go through my thoughts just based on how the game is built and what I know about how kind of some of their ideas that they had ahead of time.
Yeah.
And
you said you
read
all the
about.
patch notes, you get like all the information as soon as you can, right?
Oh yeah. I listen to I used to work about an hour and to over here. I used to work with an hour commute, so I would just sit on YouTube and listen to everybody's thoughts and opinions all day.
Man. Who's your favorite YouTuber to watch?
Depends on what I want to hear it for. I actually love Expel. He's solid. I got a lot of respect for the guy.
This is the game that I'm playing, chat. This is the game. I lost to a kid with a pistol. No audio, no movement. Run into a door.
Oh man. Come on. Give me an automatic weapon. This is what pisses me off. I don't have an automatic.
Yo, what's up, baby? At least there's plenty of snipers.
Yeah.
You can't one shot.
There we go.
Oh, Daddy, you got a beautiful.
Oh, dude, this guy drops in. His character is right in front of Pink's dot, and I thought he was Pink.
Man.
This is the sort of stuff that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I
should be able to
that
change
is
the
my guy.
opacity on that, no. But that's an easy fix as well. But then again, I'm not a coder, so I can't call it easy.
Your squad mates
Yeah.
are redeploying.
Honestly, I'll bet it's something they didn't even think about. Cool.
You have reinforcements inbound.
Ooh, someone has a one-shot sniper. It ain't me.
It's right there. Call back, keep calling.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Oh, he's in the window.
Enemy
You want
soldier
to chase me?
incoming.
Man.
Kills bring back your squad mates faster. Good work. Your squad mates back on station. Good work. Hostile more strike in the area.
That sniper up there on the wall. He's up there.
You have
He's just
reinforcements
camping up there,
inbound.
he's not gonna move.
Well, let's see what I can do. He just pushed in the basement right here.
I'd fancy some mid-cow rounds.
Your squad mate is redeploying.
Better than
Well
you are.
done.
It's my shit.
Back to the lobby, buddy. It's for the ISO.
Hostiles dropping into the area. Watch the sky.
Dropping in. He's up on. He's gonna drop right up here. It's up to you guys.
His boyfriends are down below me. I can't make him play on that yet. We don't have the right guns.
They just got home, so chaos is ensuing.
What were you thinking, bro? What were you thinking?
Cracked. Oh, there's multiple up here. Oh,
You're good, I got you. You're good. Gotta drop this mini box.
Dropping ammo here.
Yeah. So.
Using drill charge.
Oh, get fucking slammed.
Knocks the piss out of me.
Go home.
You gotta lock him in sub, bro. Come on, man. Oh, we got a low.
Someone just broke his leg here. Oh, right here, right here. Holy hell.
Alright, so let's get in now. Where's our about to say?
Ammo here. Got a field upgrade active here.
Go. Only one place to go.
Moving here.
I'm getting looked at.
Yeah, let's get behind us. He's on top of the roof. If we land on that, he's gonna kill us with the pistol though. He's hella kids at Hydra. Should've bought a Yui, not
Bounty
about it.
targets are up. Take them down.
There's a lot of kids here. Still low D2 dropped. I'm landing right here.
Moving.
Papa, would you?
More kids below us. One's rotating in.
Yep.
Enemy
have one kid
counter
above.
UAV is active. All bounty targets are down. Well done.
No.
Your team is in the safe zone.
Which damage dropping down? Poor choice.
Nah, I don't like pushing stairs.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
It's gonna be in that window. Yeah.
Slammed.
I'm dropping on my gear.
Oh my god, I hate this game with a passion.
He's up there with you.
I mean, these lag spikes are beautiful, man.
I hear guys below us.
Yeah, he's knocked out. He has a self.
Enemy UAV active.
He does not have a self.
Shit. Across the way. This side.
Broken. Wow. Our teammates are nowhere near us.
Immediately. Get on the bridge.
Would you say the TTK is solid overall in this game? It's a good
No.
TTK.
No, it's not. I am not a fan of the short range TTK. I think it's way too fast. I think long range, if you're beyond like 40, 50 meters, I think it's pretty decent. And with snipers, I think now that you can one shot down, I think that's worked its way back where it should be. But I think overall the close range TTK is just insane. And I don't know what the best answer is, because it's one of those, if you just add 50 health, you screw up the whole long range TTK. 'Cause now you put extra rounds in somebody at range. Oh shoot. Oh, come on. It's on this roof right here. He's up above you.
Fire sale is active. Buy station prices are adjusted.
Oh, you picked up my guns. Nice. Not a fan, huh?
Enemy soldier incoming.
I don't understand this game at all, but I really just don't understand it. Jesus Christ. It's just so fucking frustrating playing this shit.
Yeah. There's mantling shit. There's so much going on.
You're losing ground.
Taking fire!
You have reinforcements inbound.
Oh, beautiful lag. If I died of that shit one more time, I might lose my shit.
That's the best of us. Where is he?
Snipe that. There we go.
Oh.
Your
Call back,
squad
call
mate
back,
is
call back.
redeploying. Well done.
I see him.
Yeah, dead ahead of us. A whole bunch of them there.
Let's get
Fire
you out of
sales
this
over.
mess.
Adjusting
Not
prices.
ideal. My head out where it doesn't belong, though.
Hostile dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Get a loadie or no? We can't even afford it. Get slammed, bitch. Oh, you guys are fucking stacking pussies. That's so fucking sorry, man.
There's two in here on green mark.
Fucking trash. Someone's behind you.
Gonna feel up.
Oh.
Okay.
He's down there.
I'm going back to my loadie. I can't even get up there. God,
Your
what's up,
squad
baby?
mate's back on
What bandit?
station.
How are you, brother?
Good work. Supply crates are restocked. Advise you load up now. Objective is to eliminate all bounty targets. Some of your team is still outside the safe zone.
Ooh, an orange crate.
Beautiful. I love getting plates.
Get on plates. I've got a couple spare if you need one.
Definitely going to. 1 second. There's a bunch of kids down here, though. I want to get the high ground on them. Rotate with me.
Yep, yep.
You're gonna be down here to our left.
Your squad mate is redeploying. Well done.
I'm not gonna push that because I have no visibility. But they're down here for sure.
Resurgence is closed. No more second chances.
Still got that extra spare plate.
Yeah. Here, I got a present for you.
W. Killed. Front of us. Front
Right
of
ahead,
us.
right ahead.
I'm gonna
Yep, yep.
take high ground real quick.
Advise you move to the safe zone now.
He's shooting. He's gonna be.
I saw a guy right here.
Knock two. Knock two.
Both full. I got flashed. I got
I
flashed.
got your cover. I got your cover. Don't jump.
Oh, right here. He's right here.
Got you.
Oh, nice wave.
I need medical.
50 still
I've got
remain.
you.
Plenty of
Hold
targets.
tight.
You hockey score. My day's been good, but I appreciate you for asking, man.
Time's up.
My bad. I was locked in.
Contact failed.
Hold it in a counter UAV.
Copy. Counter UAV is blocking.
Gas mask right there if you need it.
Good.
Okay. I just want to make sure no kids are running behind us.
Yeah.
Enemy movement.
Once we do a circle rotate before we make the rotation down. Let's go. I'm gonna take this tower right here.
Moving
Friendly
here.
airstrike in the AO.
It must have to our left, to our left, to our left.
Yep, yep, yep.
Counter UAV is
Here's a
returning
sniper.
to base.
Right here.
Sniper.
Broken. So one-y. I dropped a cluster on him.
Target
Gas is inbound.
They're rotating.
Be advised. Part of your team is outside the safe zone.
They gotta come to us anyway. Welcome.
I got high alerted from the right,
Yeah.
north.
It's up here. Jesus, I can't shoot with this gun.
Hostile mortar strike
I dropped a mortar
incoming.
on me. I gotta drop down.
Still hit. Stop this.
Nice.
Our mortar strike is inbound.
Effective fire.
Still beamed.
Enemy marked.
I got one out here by the
Moving.
containers.
You made the top 25. Nicely done.
Cancel loss.
It's cracked right here.
Getting laser from the right and left.
Friendly
Requesting
mortar
fire
strike
mission.
inbound.
Target marked.
Follow me. Come here. We drop down, go left. Gotta clear this out. We're gonna take this grapple in a second. There's kids over here, so be careful.
Need mid-call round.
Yep, right here. Oh my god, brother, you can't make it up. More. Careful. Left.
Oh.
You got gas moving in.
I got it.
Now. You have a lot of ground to cover.
Got flashed.
Grapple. Oh, get on the. No, I'm gonna get fucked. Oh, I'm fucked.
Okay.
I'm find the grapple in time.
Love you.
Requesting recon flyover.
Copy that. UAV online and orbiting the AO.
Wow.
Be advised, UAV.
You're in the top 5. Bring home the win.
Oh, nope.
Requesting close air. Target marked.
That rotated up to me.
3-1. Target acquired. Strike inbound.
Oh, nice.
You're losing ground.
Down left, I think. Look down left.
Knocked one. GG's.
GG's.
Every time, chat. Every time.
GG's.
Go! Go, chat.
It's all about humanity.
Go. All right, W. All right, Goobers. Listen. One sec, someone.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, Goobers, guys, listen. So, yesterday, I noticed that there was somebody who commented on a tweet that Expel put out. And this tweet was basically in reference to all the things that are wrong with Warzone. And Expel put out this tweet just to get Activision's attention, even though they probably weren't going to look at it and they don't care. And this guy that I met, his name is Eric, but the guy that I'm playing with right now, his name is Sub1KD. I reached out to him yesterday, and he had some very, very good insight as to what they said, as to what Expel said. And in response to him, he said, well, I'll show you guys right now. I'll give you guys some more context. So he said, all right, let me just go ahead and put this in the background. So Expel was basically asking, hey, this is all the stuff that's wrong with Warzone. He said, dear Call of Duty, a thread. He said, these are all the problems, blah, blah, blah. It's not, you know, he meant this all with love. He went this with love and care. This is obviously not disparaging him. But he said, hey, this is what you guys need to do. Fix the server, start removing playlists, QA tests, remove the bots, etc. And it was all very straightforward. It was all pretty interesting. And I was pretty curious because the person who had replied to his name was Sub1KD, and it's this guy Eric that we're playing with. And I'll go ahead and let Eric, I guess, like introduce himself and whatnot. I think today, guys, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna probably like kind of you can call it like podcast style, talking about just like what's wrong with Warzone. And he has some software and development and some tech, like a tech background, so he was able to provide some pretty decent insight as to just kind of like addressing what Expel said. And I just thought it'd be pretty cool to just talk to him, listen to some of his questions and some of the concerns that people have, and he had some pretty good insight to that. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and just chop it up with Eric in Discord for a little bit. And yeah, if you guys want to listen, if you guys don't want to listen, it is what it is. But I'll go ahead and just chop it up with Eric for right now. And we'll probably be doing that for like at least like an hour or something like that, chat. So I just thought it'd be a really good conversation. So if you guys have any questions or whatever, guys, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. Yo, Toonfully, Black Doctor Disrespect. I love that. I love that. Yo, Eric. You still there?
You got me?
Yes, sir. Cool. Give me 1 second.
All right, cool.
Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to Discord. I'll probably put my. Can I move you back into the private chat or?
Yeah. Go ahead and get this over.
Okay. Oh shit! What the fuck happened? Yo, Eric. For some reason, it kicked you out of the chat. Hold on. Send link for what? The Robbeezzyy podcast? I don't know about the Robbeezzyy podcast, but he was definitely very insightful. Hold on, give me a second, chat. I'm gonna remove my webcam. This is like technical difficulties. Yo, I'm gonna try moving you one more time. For some odd reason, when I moved you, the first time it worked, but the second time it just didn't. So give me a second.
Yeah. All right. Try it again.
Cool, it worked. There we go.
All right. There we go. There we
Give me
go.
a second. Let me go ahead and turn my camera.
Yep. No problem.
I was telling him like how handsome your beard is and everything, and they're like, "Oh my god, we have to see it, bro." That's all they want to see is the beard. They don't want to see anything else. I hate to say it.
There we go. All straight beard.
All straight beard, perfect. 1 second. Full screen this, cool. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. This is what I was waiting for. Here we go. Okay, cool.
All right. Sweet.
All right. Chat, this is Eric. Eric, this is chat. Eric, hold on. Can you do me a favor? Sorry, bear with me. I gotta get my other keyboard up here. But can you say something into the microphone?
Hey, check.
Let's go. All right, you're perfect. All right, yeah, chat.
Sweet.
This is Eric, also known as Sub1KD. I was showing them the tweet that you had from yesterday, and Eric is also streaming on Kick, right? You stream on Kick, right?
I stream. I'm not on right now, but
Okay, cool.
I'll be on a little bit later.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, Eric streams on Kick. I'll go ahead and post it. Either like when I'm done recording this, I'll post it at the bottom of this video, whatever, and then.
Great.
So Eric has a little bit of tech background. Actually, I'll go ahead and let you do your introduction.
Sure. So I'm Eric. I am on Twitch and not Twitch anymore. Kick and Twitter as somewhat Sub1KD. I grew up in Silicon Valley. Have a long history of being involved and around tech, all the different .com booms and busts, and so self-taught in a lot of different tech disciplines. Ended up in software QA, in software product on the product side. I ended up running with multiple companies. I started right out of college, started my own consulting firm. We worked with small businesses. The goal was to try and bring them into the Web 2.0, which at that time was MySpace, to give you to date myself a little bit. And then, like I said, I moved into kind of a more professional software side of things. Was involved with some seriously cutting edge stuff, a lot of big launches. Slept under my desk multiple times, and so kind of got that whole industry feel, and then ended up walking away from that a couple years back. So, but that's me. So when I saw Expel's tweet, and I was like, I saw a lot of the responses that were coming in, and I'm like, this is something I just don't think he wrapped his head around what was going on and why people were so unhappy, and so that's why I wrote my response.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna reference Expel's tweet probably in this video whenever I make it, but
Yeah.
Expel, from what I understood from that, did you know who Expel was prior to actually responding to his tweet, or was it like on your For You kind of Twitter?
No. Expel is the guy that got me into paying more attention to Call of Duty.
Word.
Literally, I started playing Call of Duty in COD 1 back in 2003. Like, that was my first introduction to COD. I played every COD up until the jetpack era, which wasn't my jam. And then 2019, my buddy and I got back into it during the pandemic. Well, actually, we got back into it at launch, had a lot of fun, pandemic hit, and then it was just Warzone for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
Just like, everybody else. And about partway, into Cold War, I ran into one of J God's spreadsheets, one of his early spreadsheets, and it was mind blowing that guns change over time. To give you an idea of how much attention that I paid to Call of Duty at that time.
Yeah.
And so it was, I was running the M4 with stocks that looked like ones that I've used before in. It's like, oh, this one looks pretty, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And so it was eye-opening, and then I got on YouTube and I found Expel, how to get better at Warzone, and I just consumed every video he had. Him and Savage both were kind of my two guys that I listened to all the time.
Right.
So I've been following him for 1.5 to 2 years. So I know, I follow him on Twitter. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he's getting roasted.
No, that makes sense. So, I mean, from my understanding, his tweet specifically was more constructive to Call of Duty. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. No, Call of Duty's not looking at our tweets. I really don't think they care. It falls on deaf ears. So, like, sometimes I'll even make like sarcastic jokes about it when I tweet, knowing that they're not gonna reply. But I think Expel genuinely wanted there to be just like a nice, concise way to say, and hundreds of people have done that already, but Call of Duty's not going to care.
Oh yeah.
So kind of what inclined you to respond? Was it the responses that people had on Expel, or was it just you saying maybe there's a way that I can iron this out so people understand that it's not just like an easy one-time fix?
I think it was a combination of, and I follow a lot of content creators, and I see a lot of the same, like, why don't you just fix their bugs? I mean, I jokingly post on Modern Warzone all the time, fix your game, bud. And I think that it feels like a disconnect because a running thread that I see a lot of times is, why are these bugs, like, why can they fix a buy station bug in one day, and then this other bug takes like weeks and we don't hear anything about it? And just having that mindset of having been in the scenario as a developer producing something that generates outcry and anger, and knowing what I've been through on the development side, I was kind of like, that's interesting. But then I started seeing actual devs from other game companies in other fields replying to him and basically just dragging him, and I felt like, hey, I felt like there was a way to step in and just be like, hey, there's stuff you don't understand and you don't even know what you don't know, and I think from some of his replies after the fact, he took that as kind of like, hey, yeah, I saw this video this morning, and and it sounded like he kind of took a lot of that feedback to heart.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, of course, yeah. And again, I think a lot of people probably misunderstood what he was saying. Even when the devs responded, which is crazy, right? I've never, not once, ever seen any dev from any company, Activision or another company, jump out to defend. Not even, I don't even know what to call what Expel. His tweet wasn't even like, it wasn't even a disrespectful tweet. It was just like, hey guys, the game sucks right now. This is the problems with it. This is what everybody, and it's like, it's not even like a gameplay thing. It's not like slide canceling. It's not stim shots. It's literally like the servers suck. Like, people can't physically play the game because it lags so much.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I guess segueing from that, if you could vocalize what the process looks like for coming up with the game top to bottom. It's like a 3-year project. It's hard for me to believe that Warzone 2 was a 3-year project. From $1 billion, if this was a 3-year project, I have no words. Like, I find it hard to believe, for me being somebody who obviously works in tech, but I don't have like a very technical background per se. Can you tell me what that breakdown looks like? What's the process like to build a game like this?
So one thing that I think everybody needs to think about is that Warzone 2 probably did not take 3 full years by itself. It was 3 years to develop Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, the campaign, the raids, and Warzone Mobile. And we haven't seen Warzone Mobile yet, unless you live in Australia and fight kangaroos. Mm-hmm. So I think that, or New Zealand, I don't know, wherever it is. so I think people that are, especially people that are Warzone mains or that are multiplayer mains, they don't think about how much of this game is going on. And one of the things the devs have been very clear about is they don't want a repeat of Warzone 1 where they're just bolting on attachments to a game that isn't designed to take it, and you get a hoopty at the end of the day that just is dropping parts off on the freeway, right? And so, if you think about it, and if you say, if we're going to take a 3-year span, there's probably a good 6 to 8 months of people sitting around a table with pens and paper and whiteboards and throwing ideas around and trying to rough out a grand picture for all this whole ecosystem of Call of Duty. And they'll come up with we'll have a team that'll come up with a campaign and a storyboard, but remember, all these characters, they intertwine, so there's Warzone people and multiplayer people and campaign people, and they all have to talk to each other. And then and so they'll have a huge planning process. And what they'll do is they'll probably go in and they'll sit there and they'll say, all right, what works what's working in Warzone, what's not working in Warzone, how do we want to approach this? And if we rewind the clock and you kind of look at where this is, I mean, this is going to be season 5, season 6 of Modern Warfare 2019, and maybe into the first season or 2 of Cold War that this is going on, right? So this isn't like it isn't like they started this in the middle of Caldera and said, oh, let's figure out what to do. And so at that point, they're doing two things: is they're coming up with this whole ecosystem that they want to do and all their plans and how they want the game to go. But they're also trying to read the tea leaves and check out the fortune teller bowl and see, hey, what is the industry going to be like in 3 years when we launch this thing? And that's one of the tougher things. And at that time, if you look around, battle royales were kind of in decline. Okay, Apex was getting stale. Fortnite was very stale. And everything was kind of locked in, was it PUBG was dead. Day one, what's the
H1Z1
Daisy? Yeah, they're dead. Yeah, and so you look at where the battle royales were, and it was Warzone and nothing else. In terms of like where all the hype. Apex was. I mean, yeah, but they were limping around. They were having issues. If you go back and you look at the news look at what was going on in Apex around the launch of Cold War, they weren't doing much, right? People weren't excited.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so I think if you looked at the grand scope of it, and you looked at some other games that were taking off, Tarkov was taking off at this time. There were these other games taking off, and so you have this conversation of, hey, in 3 years, is Battle Royale going to be a thing? In 3 years, are we going to be, behind the curve? Is everyone going to be playing Tarkov or a Tarkov clone? And so I think with that conversation, they probably mapped out saying, hey, we're going to make a Battle Royale / this DMZ mode and have it kind of work to get, have it be comfortable between the two modes. And we'll grow off of that. So, at that point, you're probably 6-7 months into the year. They're going to start, engineers are going to start building out wireframes. They're going to start architecting what the map will look like kind of at a high level. So they'll have, probably people drawing, the map and kind of figuring out how they want to make the overall terrain and what the experience will be on the map. And then, and that's going to eat up most of the year. So, by the end of year 1, you've got a plan, you've got probably a document, a big binder that'll say, here's what we want the game to be like when it's launched. And I mean, there'll be room for changes, but like they'll have the whole idea, like the concept is done, right? Like they know what they're making. And then they're going to lean into, the base engineering. So they're going to build the engine, they're going to put that together. And an engine is kind of like a weird thing. It's not like an engine in a car. It's kind of like, it's the engine and the frame and all these other things that work together, and you can move parts around on it. There's a whole conversation about what is an engine that you can get into if you want to really nerd out, but it's going to rapidly get out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But but they'll create this, but they'll create the framework for the game. How's the physics? How do the physics work? How do the characters move? Things like that. And so at that point, we're going to end the year. They probably have some functional models. They can sit there and they can say, when a character walks across the screen here, walks down the street, here's what they'll look like. And and starting year 2 is when it really starts to balloon out. You're going to have people that animators are going to be continuing to animate things, but you're going to have artists that are going to create the textures. They're going to create, what does a wall look like, right? What is what does the floor look like? And around the same time as they create textures, you're going to be handing that off to sound designers who have to sit there and say, all right, when a bullet hits a patch of sand, what does it sound like? And they have to go and create a sound for that. And then they say, well, now bullet's going to hit a rock. What does that sound like? And they'll go through and they'll start creating all these sounds and this whole sound file. And that's an intensive process.
Yeah.
And then you'll have character modelers who will flesh out what the people look like and the faces, and the motion capture starts to go in. So they'll have the actors come in and start acting out different functions. And all of this, so all of these things are going on in different compartments. At the same time, you have a script being written for the campaign, but you have scripts being written for the game itself. So all the voices that people are going to say, all the little quips, the one-liners, enemy UAV, all that, right? Yep. Somebody writes a script and says, what is it going to be? Are we going to say enemy UAV? Are we going to say, AC-130? Whatever they want to say. So they're going to have this whole thing out. And then what they'll do is they'll dive into, some of the more obscure stuff. And then, so all these different departments are doing all these things. And towards the end of the second year is when they start pulling it together, would be, kind of how I'd anticipate it. So now you have models. We're going to put graphics on the models. We're going to put, we have wireframes and kind of drawn out maps, but now we're going to start slapping some textures on it so that we can see what a building looks like. And then, by the end of the year, you'd start getting alpha builds where things are you could take a character and walk them around a room or walk them around a building, but the walls, they're just plain gray walls, right. And things like that. If you think of Dr. Disrespect, when some of the first looks of his gameplay, right? That's alpha level.
Yeah.
Material where they're modeling it, they're just testing that physics engine, they're testing these things out.
Yeah.
And you might start, and this is the first time you might actually start to see some QA going on, where you might bring in a couple of testers and say, hey,
I'm sorry, 1 second.
Run in.
1 second.
Yeah.
Yo. I don't ask Kyle. He probably has one in his room. But I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. This is like the first time that QA is going to start being involved, maybe, depending on how the company's set up. So you might have people saying, hey, we need someone to go walk into a wall 55 times to make sure they don't go through it.
Right.
And then what'll happen is they'll change the wall and you have to do it again. And so then you start getting into, then you start putting everything together kind of in the beginning of the third year, where you're going to have fully fleshed out models. You're going to have fully fleshed out environments. And now you're starting to really put the pieces together and refine them, right? So now you're making sure the textures look good. You're making sure that the buildings, don't fall through the ground and things like that. So there's a lot of that going on, and so that's kind of like almost the busiest time. And at this point, marketing's probably getting involved. They're starting to make deals with partners and trying to figure it out. Probably early in late year 2, early year 3, they probably picked out a date. At that point, they're like, we have to ship this date, and then they're going to start doing a lot of the work to make that happen. And so that's when you really start getting a lot of the QA people brought in, a lot of the play testing, and that's when all the juicy details start coming out, right? And then creators start coming in probably the second half of the third year. Early looks, early alphas, early betas, closed betas, those sort of things. And so the last 6 months is a rush of just trying to fix as many bugs as you can, trying to get things as sharp and good looking as possible, while marketing does its thing and that deadline turns up on you. And so the last few months, probably the last like 2-3 months, everybody's probably just 20-hour days, just there all the time.
One of the
and
things
then you hit ship date.
one of the things that you mentioned that you said wasn't just such a simple solution? Because I guess you can say in my world of consulting, I always thought like when you add software developers, it really is plug and play. As long as you understand the environment you're working in, it really is. Hey, we need more developers. You guys come in. And this is how I looked at it in my head to kind of understand it on a very rudimentary level. You have a bunch of developers that are looking at a bunch of zeros and ones all day, and it just takes more developers to figure out which zeros and which ones are out of place. Is that a good way of looking at it, or is that too basic?
You know, it depends. And so sometimes you have something that's really straightforward, right? Like you're going to build a website. Well, all right, I need someone to code a front end. I need someone to code a back end. And they don't work with each other, right? So you can hire two people and say, go, two is faster than one.
Yeah.
You can say, I've got, 10 front pages I want to make. I can have 10 people working on it. As long as they have a design document, they know what they're supposed to create. They know how it's supposed to look. They can go through and create they can all work on their own pages independently, and it's not a big deal. But something that gets complex, then you run into the problem of, even though everybody might know the same coding language, they don't understand the history, right? So in my experience, where I ran into this was we'd have something in Crunch, and we'd have developers assigned to it, engineers assigned to the project to kind of speed things up and pick up the slack. And so what would happen is an engineer would come in. He or she has no idea what, it's all new to him, right? They've never seen this stuff before. So they get handled, essentially a code base, and they say, well, here's a feature we want you to create. And so they can go and create the feature, but they don't understand unless they've gone through and carefully reviewed the entire bug history of it and the development history and kind of the design changes that were made, they'd have no idea where to start. So it's kind of like saying, hey, if you, I don't know, there's not a great analogy. Kind of like, they walk in and there's so much going on, and they just start doing stuff. Well, a lot of times what happens is they start messing with things that are a certain way because that fixes a problem somewhere else that they're not familiar with. And so what we get reversion bugs. Something that was fixed 2 builds ago is suddenly broken again, right? And that's because this new guy came in and he touched a file over here because that's how he wants to address, a display issue.
That makes sense.
And in the reality, it breaks some other display issue. And it's a real thing, and it happens all the time in software. I ran into it so much. One of my projects got delayed 4 months because the bug just kept coming back.
Right.
And so that was a big deal.
So these will be probably more direct questions, right? But
yeah.
Bugs are one thing. I think everybody needs to understand the fact that somebody in my chat, one of my mods, his name is Diddy. He literally every single game, I kid you not, I can't play one game where he's actually with the team or even shooting it. He's just under the map. He finds some way to get under the map. You can't make it up, and there's nothing you can do. There is. So I think I get it. There's going to be bugs here and there. I think everybody in the Call of Duty community to some degree has to understand there's going to be bugs. And we were talking about it earlier. I think most people just want to be pessimistic, but I need to know literally on the most important thing is just server stability. If you don't have that, you can't play. So you referenced it in the response to Expel. You said you kind of had an explanation that you kind of compared motherboards to your PC. Again, I'm not super technical, but I understood the analogy, right? Could you possibly dive a little bit deeper into that and what that looks like, and why is it so difficult to just stabilize servers? Because it's probably one of the only games that I've played. Apex, Fortnite, I can jump on Rocket League. There's so many games I can play online where I don't have as bad of a time where I do with COD. Like, there's games we were playing was it's impossible.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that go into what makes the game stable, right? And so one of the key ones is the servers have to be really good quality, and they have to have good connection to the servers, right? So if your internet is dog shit, I mean, excuse my French, but you're host, right? It doesn't matter how good the server is. And if the server is in an area that has issues, right? Like their internet service has issues, well, that server is going to have issues. And so what ultimately happens on a game like Call of Duty, and this is, Fortnite's kind of an example. Fortnite, if you look at it in terms of its graphics, right, and in terms of the gameplay and the number of assets that exist in the game, it's very minimal, right? It's a very minimalistic, very simplistic game. There's not a lot going on, so there's not a lot for the servers to have to deal with. In Call of Duty, you are photorealistic, right? That's their goal, photorealistic. And if you look around, and it drives me nuts when I'm trying to snipe, but there's leaves falling, and there's birds flying through the air, and there's all these things going on, right? Well, those all have to the server has to create all that and tell your computer, right? Hey, there's a bird flying over here, and there's another one flying over there, right? And so it's got a lot of that going on. And then on top of that, you have what's called code optimization. And this is kind of where I'm probably going to screw up explaining this, because this isn't, I'm not a back-end developer. So any developers that hear this, I blame somebody else for saying it. So what that means is how efficiently does the code run, right? On a game like Fortnite, for example, there aren't a lot of textures to call. It's just, blue wall, right? Green grass. And so it's calling the same thing for everything.
Right.
And so what it says is, hey, green grass, put it here, like in this whole span. And your game then does the processing. Your computer does all the processing. It creates it. The server just tells it what to do. With Call of Duty, there are so many things that the server has to tell your computer to create that there's back and forth. There's so much back and forth, and so the speed and efficiency with which your computer can create what the server's telling it to create, render it for you, and then take your interactions with all of that information and send it back to the server. Okay, the more efficiently it can do that, the better. So in an ideal environment, your game will render individually every single wall, every rock, every grain of sand, every inch of sky. It will just create that entire world on your PC, and the file will probably be a terabyte in size, and use you'll need 3 graphics cards to keep it running, because there's just so much. So what the game does is it builds the world as you look at it. Right, and so that's why you see rendering at distance sometimes, right? You can look through a scope and things are planar in the distance. The game, didn't prepare to call those call those assets and call those images ahead of time, and so you get pop in, and you get GTA Online is huge for this. If you ever played that, where you look like across the map, you can see across the map, but you don't see anything until you really look at it, and then stuff starts appearing.
Yep.
And so Call of Duty is trying to do that as fast as possible. And so where some of the problems are going to come up is there's probably a lot of optimization that needs to be done. They need to be more efficient in what they call from the server. So that means, like, for example, if you want to see, if you're going to look at a building, right, and you can see 3 walls of a building, okay, and the server can say, I want to see this wall, and I want to see this wall, and I want to see the roof, right? Calls all of that information. What that's 3 processes, 3 calls that your computer has to make to the server, and the server has to send back. Now, if you could take all of those assets, put them on your computer, and then the server just and it just says, hey, create building A, and your computer then can draw up all those things, right? That's much more efficient. It's 1 call, it's not 3, which doesn't seem like a big deal, right? It's like, okay, it's one line of text instead of 3. But when you multiply that by the millions of things that you see every time you look around in Al-Mazrah, for example, like, that's a lot of information being trucked back and forth about what's supposed to be rendered on your screen. And so getting more efficient at that, tightening that up. I'm guessing that different aspects of what you see creates lag. Things run into conflict. They don't, the server doesn't know what to do, or your computer doesn't know what to do with it, so it just kind of bounces around and drags down while it sorts that out. So I think there's some problems with that. The servers themselves they're bad. They're really bad.
This is an understatement. What you're saying is an understatement. It's literally unplayable. It's unplayable.
Yeah, and I think what really the problem with the servers themselves is they've been using essentially, my understanding is the same servers for a long time. I read a report a while back, like 3-4 months ago, that talked about the server company. So a lot of companies, they don't buy their own server racks. They don't have their own building full of servers connected to the trunk internet, right? They pay a company for it, right? So Amazon Web Services, AWS, that's one of the big players in the game, right? Everybody, most people have heard about it, and when they go down, 3/4 of the internet turns off. And so their types of, that type of service is almost certainly what these game servers are on. And so there's a third-party company. They maintain the servers. They replace the hardware as it wears out. But Activision is tied into a certain level of service, and whether it's whether there's some long-binding contract they're trapped in, or there's an inability to move their existing games. Because I'm guessing any game that you can log into and play right now is all on the same set of servers. Like they're all connected. And so I don't think they have a strong ability to move one thing without trying to move everything. And that means we'd probably have to turn off all of the legacy games. Like they would just all shut down. And I think Activision has been reluctant to do that in a lot of ways. And that leaves them stuck on these servers that just aren't. It's clear they're not up to it. They're not doing well, right? And so I think there's some business decisions, and I think there's some technical decisions on why these servers haven't been upgraded. During the beta, we had great servers, and so I think the beta was on a different tier of service. Not connected to the same service.
The beta felt great. A lot of I was telling people, when I hopped onto the Modern Warfare 2, it didn't feel like Modern Warfare 1 or Warzone 1, which I was okay with, right? I wasn't gonna judge it too soon.
Yeah.
But chat, the audio, the audio is phenomenal, crisp. I swear to God, I cannot hear. I can't even hear in real life that well. I don't even understand. So this is a perfect segue. I have a number of questions I want to ask you. What happened? What could have possibly happened from the beta to the game, right? So my theory, I think they just said only realistically, right? The average player, the average dad who's just coming home just after like a 40-hour shift, realistically like a 40-hour work week, right? He wants to come home, kick back. He probably has a whack headset. Audio's not going to matter for him anyway. It's not. He probably doesn't have the equipment for that. That's only for really sweaty, hardcore gamer, gung ho Call of Duty Warzone players, right? I believe that they nerfed audio specifically for that reason. I there's no way they could have botched it that bad, in my opinion. But if you could explain what could have possibly happened, because again, I know you're not an employee of Activision, and I might just be a conspiracy theorist, right? But if you could just tell me what could have possibly happened from the beta to the game that screwed up audio that badly.
All right, I think two things happened. I think one, the sweats complained because they couldn't move.
Very, very.
If you remember, there was a lot of that. There's a lot of that. And the thing that you have to remember, and the thing that everyone has to remember, Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone 1 were the same game, right? They were the same set of files with some differences, right?
Right.
And Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 were designed to function seamlessly. The whole point was that there's one engine, it powers everything all the time, so that when they add new things to it, when they create the next game, it's still on the same engine. You don't have the collisions and the problems that Black Ops Cold War had and Vanguard had when you introduced it.
Right.
Okay? That means the audio is the same. And I think what they did is they went in and they said, all right, everybody's pissed. They hate the audio. It's killing them. They're not able to play very well in the beta.
Really?
And, people loved it, right? Like, until they had to move. And then you could, I could sit here and I could hear footsteps like 3 doors down. And I'm like, oh, the guy's coming.
There, yeah.
Let me get my gun out.
Yeah.
And that was the big complaint. And so what they did is they started making changes. Simultaneous to this, everyone discovered that they'd hired these Hulu guys to do the UI, and the UI was terrible. It's still bad. But I think that was like the number one complaint most people had, was how hard it was to maneuver things. And I think they were screwing with the audio, and they were screwing with the UI, and they're screwing with stuff on the back end, and I think they broke something. And I think it was one of those things of like they broke it and they couldn't put it back together the way it was, and they've been fighting with that ever since.
Mm-hmm. You referenced this probably like 20 minutes ago when we first started talking. You were taking me through the process of what it looks like to create a game, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, etc., and then year 1, year 2, year 3, and what it looks like throughout that progression. I need to understand where they get their information for what players want. Because if I go to my Twitter feed, obviously I follow a bunch of content creators and streamers, and literally it's just spam posts of Warzone sucks, Warzone's a disappointment. It's literally it's a ball of negativity, and that's all I get from it.
Mine too.
Right, exactly. So I would love to know, and if you have any insight as to where they get their information, like whose decision was it to say, let's take out slide canceling? Whose decision was it to say, if you want to do any sort of movement, it's gonna penalize you. You want to jump and shoot, you want to slide, you want to try and slide and shoot, if you want to drop shot. Everything is going to be who comes up with these decisions, and where do they get that information and data from? Because I've never gotten any surveys. Believe me, I would have sent a survey in. They sent me one. I promise you, they would have heard from me.
Yeah, I don't get a survey either. So I think
only the 0.75 KDs and below. They only get the surveys. Only them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Average KDs.
Yeah. So all right, I think what goes on is there's two different sets of data that exist. There's the data that we see as consumers, right? When we look around and we see our Twitter feeds, we see, Reddit, we see all these different places. And we see, and we form kind of a hive opinion of how things are and what's important and what's not important.
Right.
And then on the development side, they have data that comes from all sorts of places. So, I mean, I don't know how much you've read up on like Facebook. I'll use Facebook as an example on what Facebook does and what they what they track, right? Facebook looks, it knows if you're scrolling your phone. It knows how long your finger is touching the screen. It knows how long you linger on that picture of that scantily clad girl that you definitely shouldn't be lingering on to that long, right? It knows all of this. And what it does is it logs in your phone as you use it. How long do you have the phone open for? Did you pull it out? Did you turn it on because you got a notification? Did you turn it, did you activate it within X number of seconds of a notification? Did you activate it, did you pick it up and go straight there? Like all of these things, it tracks all of that information in very fine detail. And then, that's how they know your behavior. That's how they know if they send you 3 notifications in a row, you're going to pick up your phone 9 times out of 10, right? They know this stuff. Call of Duty does the same thing. Game developers do the same thing. Software people, it's all this. Everything gets logged, right? So in the game, they can capture telemetry from a game that says, all right, player A was looking this direction. And then, I'm trying to, I'm waving my hands and it's like below the camera, so bear with me. Player A is looking this direction. And then they turn this way and they fire their gun twice and then they die, right? Player B was looking this direction, looked this direction, slid this way, then, pressed A twice, and then used a stim, came over here, slide canceled, and shot this person in the back, and they died, okay? Mm-hmm. They can look at their telemetry and deconstruct that gunfight. And then, over time, they can look for trends, right? So over 6 months of play, all right, what is the percentage of time that person A, who just walks forward and looks and crouches and, bot moves, right?
Right.
That they die to somebody playing like this, playing like a sweat. And then, over time, they can see how often does that happen and how often does it lead to them not coming back, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of data set that they want to try and build. So they monitor all this stuff, and they know who slide cancels and who doesn't. They know how often a crouch walking heartbeat sensor in the middle of the field gets killed 3 times in a night,
I would
dead
pay an insurmountable amount of money to have that data. I just want to know how many people walk around crouch walking with the heartbeat sensor out.
A lot.
Chat.
A lot.
It would be unreal. It would be unreal. I would love to know.
Go watch Expel's videos. You'll see.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
Hey, Chad, have you guys ever like just spectated players after you die? It's like I want to see who killed me. I want to see this guy. Let me see this guy in action.
Yeah.
And you just think like, there's no way. Like, there's no way this guy acts. Anyway. But no,
look, I'm an average player, and I'll do that, and I'll be like, this guy killed me. He's hacking, and I'm like, he's dog shit. How did I die to that?
It doesn't make any sense, right? You're constantly gonna have those questions. So I guess touching on that exact same point, there are certain things that I find inexcusable. Like you played Warzone 1, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I need to know how a multi-billion-dollar company doesn't address hackers in a reasonable amount of time. I'll never get over that. I need to understand, because Apex did it, Fortnite did it, COD's probably done it in the past, and hacking was never this big of an issue, not in multiplayer at least. In any of the, I've never in my life seen something as egregious as that. And I personally, this is my conspiracy theory, chat, I believe they just said, fuck it, we don't care. Like, we're still making money off of this. Like, there was no incentive to actually fix it. So please correct my thinking. Provide me with some solace so I can sleep tonight.
So I think I have a lot of thoughts on this, and so one of the things that I did, I mentioned earlier that my internet for over a year was terrible. I moved from Silicon Valley out to the country. I live on 5 acres. Nobody lives near me. It's awesome. But hey, I don't have
W in the chat. That's beautiful. That's tough, man. He's living the dream.
I don't have any kind of communication line to my house, right? Like, it is 1.5 miles to the nearest DSL hookup, right? Really? I am on my own out here, which, is, I paid for it, right? This is what I want. But it sucks for gaming. And so when we moved out here, I got on Starlink's waitlist, I got on T-Mobile's waitlist, I got on all these waitlists for all this high-speed internet stuff, and the best I could get was AT&T's 4G LTE service, which sucks for gaming. It's not, so I mean, it was miserable. But one of the things that I did during that period is I wanted to get better. I needed to figure out how I could overcome the internet issues, and it's what drove me to learn more about playing better, to be, to get more sweaty, to learn to slide cancel, to learn to get into these gunfights and stuff. And so one of the things I did is I wanted to understand this hacking thing. So I have spent an ungodly amount of time on YouTube, in the bowels of YouTube, on these hacker sellers and these hacker promoters, and I conned some poor kid on Craigslist out of his serial number for his Cronus Zen. This is my big confession. I hit him up. I saw him selling it. I'm like, because you can't get into their Discords and their forums without a serial number. You need a serial number. I hope nobody turns me in. But
too late. Past the statute of limitations.
I wrote him and I said, hey, I need to verify your Zen is real. Can you give me your serial number? And then I ghosted him.
Are you serious?
And so, so I've been sitting in their forums for forever, and it's a huge waste of money. First of all, you can create every cheat they can do for you. You can do yourself. It's within the game. It's not hard.
Oh, really?
But the thing
we'll talk after.
Sorry,
chat. We'll talk after.
Yeah. It won't help you. Your play will go down the tubes if you try it.
No.
But the thing that I learned was through all of this, how these people work and what they are capable of doing. And so that really has opened my eyes when I see all these hacker hunters and all these streamers get accused, and they're like, look, on the screen you can see these things, and I'm like, you can't tell anything, because that's not how this works, right? Like, cheats are designed to look like the best players are playing the game. And when the telemetry looks like the system, Ricochet looks at the telemetry of a cheater and the telemetry of a good player, they're indistinguishable.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And they're designed that way. So it used to be the old glory days of hacking, right? Where you got some guy in the back of an ATV, 360 no scoping with the Kar 98 just knocking everybody out of the air, right? Gone. Like that gets killed like that. But the new cheats, right? The way they do it is they don't put the bullet in the same place. They bounce it around a little bit, right? They put a little, you'll get some chest shots and neck shots and head shots. Like, it'll mix it up. It'll bounce around. You can set it to have how many shots miss. Like what's the percentage of shots you miss when you're cheating, right? You can have walls that don't show you a player behind, like beyond a certain distance, right? There was a video that I saw, and I wish I'd saved it. I can't find it. I've been looking for it lately. There was a video I saw of a guy showing how to use like that YY shake, spin your screen around, do that whole where the screen goes like woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, you're pressing YY all the time.
And the point of doing it was how to do it so that you can't tell that you're looking at somebody through a wall.
So I want to correct. I want to make sure that I get this point because I feel like it might have went over my head. The current Ricochet anti-cheat can't necessarily tell between somebody who is legitimately cheating using blatant aimbot or wall hacks versus somebody who's actually just a really good player who used audio cues or maybe like the UAV or their mini map to recognize that there was a player there. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's the current anti-cheat. Let's just say, okay, I honestly, sometimes there's some clips that I have where I'm like, I don't know how to explain this either. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to Ricochet anti-cheat being deployed, there was still a 2-year gap where it wasn't even out. There was just nothing. It was just us getting railed by people who were blatantly cheating. What could possibly be the reason for a multi-billion-dollar company to just say, yeah, well, good luck? Like, it just wasn't there. Is there any possible explanation you think that Activision just didn't have one? Like, there just wasn't, like, I'm sorry. I'm actually very curious. How much is engine owning worth? I would just want to know. Is engine owning...
They earn about $5 million a year.
You mean to tell me Activision, a multi-billion-dollar company, was getting slammed by a company that netted $5 million a year? There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Is there any reason from your standpoint, because you've been on both ends of the spectrum, you've been an employee, you've been an owner, you've been the person sleeping under the desk. What would possibly, as an owner of a startup, of a tech startup, would possibly say, hey, you know what? We understand this is hurting our consumers, but fuck them.
Yeah. Do you think that every home in America should be mandated to have a safe room in the house?
A safe room in the house.
Yeah. Armored walls, door that slams shut, can't be opened from the outside.
Mandated is a stretch. Mandated is a stretch.
But do you think that? No, I don't.
I'm sorry.
Anybody who does is probably
I was thinking
no,
the most
you shouldn't
extreme.
be.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Okay. So the anti-cheat, the level of anti-cheat matched the level of cheating that existed before Modern Warfare 2019, before Warzone, and before everyone got locked in their houses and went to Twitch and started making money. When you think about the rise in Twitch, the rise in streaming, the amount of money people started making streaming, it mirrors the rise of cheats and how much cheats. At the start, cheats were running $150, $200, $300 a month. Sometimes some of them ran that, in a week, right? You could drop $200 in cheats in a week. And there weren't very many people. Like, the actual number of cheaters was really low. And what happened was the cheat providers said, oh, there's money to be made here playing the game. We can play the game better than everybody else because we're cheating. And so they leaned into it before Activision realized the problem was as bad as it is, right?
Yeah.
You don't put a safe room in your house if you don't think you're going to need a safe room in your house because you live in a nice neighborhood, or you don't live in Al Mazrah where you got 150 guys dropping in on parachutes with guns. All right? So they got beat to the punch, in my opinion, hard, and they didn't realize the problem was going to get as bad as it was. And they had the reporting system, and before, if somebody was blatantly cheating, it was pretty obvious they were blatantly cheating. Everybody would report them in the lobby, and they'd get kicked out, and it was no big deal. And what happened is the cheats started to get more sophisticated and more affordable. And there was a reason for people to cheat because they were locked in their homes. They had nothing better to do, and they could make some money on Twitch, on Twitter, doing whatever else.
Right.
And that, I think, is what drove Activision to really lean into, or drove the cheat makers to really balloon up and become the problem that they became. And I don't think Activision reacted fast enough. But I think, I think they got caught with their pants down, and they've been playing catch up ever since.
as a consumer, you know what? I mean, as a consumer, let's be honest. Chat, all of us in the chat, all 40, 50 of us collectively, even if we say that's unacceptable, like, what are we gonna do, right? It just sucks being on the other end of that. Another concern that I have, and this actually kind of touches on the cheating point. I feel like there was, you're familiar with Nick Merckx, right?
Yeah.
He was the biggest streamer at the time. I think he was probably the biggest streamer at the time to quit Warzone officially. And I vividly remember playing. I was watching a clip of Verdansk. He lands at Superstore on the right side, across the street from gas station. He gets killed by a hacker. He leaves the game and he says, "Fuck this." At what point is there gonna be some form of like an address? Like, hey, we all understand. We all understand that there is a cheating issue. We're working on a solution right now to fix it as soon as possible. Because I constantly feel like there's people clamoring for like some sort of response. You'll see people tweet out to Elon Musk directly because he's on Twitter, and Elon Musk every now and then will reply. It's like if there's anybody that's busy, I'm like, I feel like Elon Musk is a little bit more busier than, you know, the president of Activision or anybody who runs the software development, any of the devs, right? So I have to ask, so why is there no communication from Activision? Do you think that they blatantly just don't care? They're like, we have your $60 for the year, which I don't think that is the case. It might be the case, I'll be honest. Or do you think there's it's just there's no wiggle room for it? Do you think like no matter what, Call of Duty players won't be satisfied anyway, so why reply?
Well, I mean, there's that, but there's two sides to this, right? You have the side of you have to communicate with your players, with your customers, to let them know you're trying, right? You're doing your darndest, you're working on it. But you have to deal with the fact that you have people that, you know, Activision, you look at Activision, they've got, you know, 5,000 people working on this game, right? In this company, doing varied tasks at varying levels of access. But you have a handful of people who have nothing else in their world but to try and break through Activision any way they can. And so it's kind of like, you know, the olden days, you had castles, right? You built big walls and you lined them with soldiers on top, and then you said, you know, to any army that comes up, like, come at me, bro. Like, what? And the armies would come out, and instead of having a big fight at the wall, they started digging tunnels underneath, right? And so then, you know, all of a sudden, a hole opens up in a room in the back of the castle, and an army pours through, and you're done, right? That's what anti-cheat is like, right? You have the walls out, but if they find a way into the wall any little way, instead of attacking it like an army, if they go underneath it or they find some little crack and they can get in there, like, it's game over, they're in. And so the way that they work is the hackers are very diligent at hiding themselves, right? You know, they go in, the software installs and then hides itself from the anti-cheat. And, you know, they made a big deal out of it being kernel level, which, you know, if you think about an operating system, right, it's kind of like concentric circles of access. And so the kernel is like the most secure, right? It can do everything on your computer from the kernel level, which is why it's kind of a security issue. And so Call of Duty, and so this is a good point. Valorant has a very good anti-cheat because you can't install anything on a PC that has Valorant on it without their anti-cheat catching, because it's always on. Right? It's always running. So one of the first things that boots up. But the problem is then you have foreign software on your computer dialing home to who knows where that can take over your entire computer, run whatever it wants, and you would never know it. All right? And I think for me, and for a lot of people, you ask for that level of trust from Activision, the answer is going to be a flat no. Right? And so Ricochet, it turns on when you boot the drive, you know, when you boot the game, and it turns off when you close it. But when it's off, the door's open, right? You can install whatever you want on your PC, and as long as you don't have it running and it hides itself properly, when you boot up Ricochet will never see it. That's where, frankly, we're at. And so you have all these mitigations, you have all these other ways of trying to find the software that's running that Activision works on. But you can't tell everybody what you're doing. Because if you know, it's like you ever played with prox chat on, and you say, I'm going to go through the door and then cut left, and the other guy hears you, and they go, oh, well, let me just put a grenade there and see how that works out for you.
Right.
And so that's the game that Activision's playing with their anti-cheat, right? They say, we're going to do this, and we've got them. Like, we know they're there. And the cheat makers just go, oh, okay. turn that off, turn this on, and now they don't see us again.
You at the helm of Activision, do you think 2 years would go by? And I'm talking about you're the CEO. Let's just say you're the head software and development. I want to call you what's a good name for it, chat? What's a good name for like a noble guy? I don't know. I feel like the head software development isn't. That's not a good enough term, right? Let's call him the Archbishop, right? You're the Archbishop of Call of Duty. Do you think that 2 years would go by before you developed an efficient, not even an efficient, some sort of anti-cheat?
Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's one of those things of, you know, you have a 2 year span, and it took them, you know, 2 years to come up with it. I think they probably spent a year. I think they didn't realize they had a problem for like 9 months, 10 months. I don't think they understood there was a problem.
Chat, no shot. They went 10 months and then said we have hackers. Holy shit! There's no shot. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, and then so a dev 10 months into the game said there's really hackers here.
You know, think about it like this, right? Like, do you know how many hackers there are out there right now playing Call of Duty?
Oh, there's got to be a solid. I would say maybe.
I'm gonna say cheaters. I'm gonna say cheaters because hackers is it gives them too much credit because they're not hackers. They're dog shit. They just install software. Right. They're cheaters. And I want to roll Cronus into this. So I want everybody who's using third-party software to cheat. It's about it's about 1 million. Right now.
There's 1 million hackers out there.
Mm-hmm. 1 million cheaters. Right now.
Conspiracy thought, right? And don't answer this if you don't want to, because
I've got data. I can back it up.
1 million hackers? Tell me this. Do you believe this, right? This is a conspiracy. Do you believe Activision actually owns engine owning? Or maybe a subsidiary of a subsidiary? You don't think so? Mm-mm. I know they're suing engine owning.
They should buy it, and they should build it into the game, and you should have a hacker mode, and you should have a ranked mode. And that should be the game.
I love that. Beautiful. I love that. I absolutely love that idea.
Yeah.
Let me just switch gears. All right, I feel like we've talked enough about hacking. Yeah. Hacking is in the past. I still think there's a lot of hackers, but now I never accuse anybody of hacking or stream snipe because you never really know if they have walls unless they're blatantly just like pointing to people out of the sky. You really never know. But ranked mode was something that people have been clamoring for about years now. I mean, I would say that Warzone, I think people knew how successful Warzone was. Maybe like I'd want to say like 2-3 months in. I think 2-3 months in, people were hooked. Like at that point, you had the servers might have crashed because of how many people there were. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, my chat's telling me my microphone is a little. All right, chat. Let me know if this is better. So let me ask you this: as far as making a decision for an extra playlist like ranked, again, I feel like that's something that goes back to communication between people, communication between Activision, not even just Activision on the topic of hacking, but on the topic of what we want as a community. I believe that a ranked mode would solve 70% of the problems that have ever existed in terms of skill-based matchmaking, the competitiveness between casual and sweaty players. Because you take away skill-based matchmaking in public matches, and we talked about this earlier, I don't think there's any reason that the small majority of players, let's just say like those really sweaty YY slide canceling players, those guys that are dropping like 20 bumps every game, that are not cheating, they're not using the Cronus, they're just really, really, really good. There's such a small majority. I don't think there's a lot of people like that. So if you took away skill-based matchmaking, you added a ranked mode, you had something for content creators and streamers to grind so that they're not in public matches sweating on a 40-year-old dad who just finished a 12-hour shift. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have solved the problem.
I feel like you're you're after someone here.
No, bro, you're like 25. Come on, man. You're like 25, bro. You don't look like over 20. Yeah, perfect. So let me ask you this. Why would you think that Activision would not implement a ranked game mode super far in advance? I would assume it wouldn't take that many resources since it is just another playlist.
But it's not another playlist, right? It is a completely different setup. So if you think about it, look at the Modern Warfare 2 ranked, right? Different. You have restrictions, you have rewards, you have ranks themselves, you have curated play. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that goes into the matchmaking side of it where you have to say, hey, we're going to with this, ranked mode, we're only going to let people who are bronze that have certain stats play against, this thing. So you have a much more confined skill-based matchmaking. The matchmaking is more confined, right, based on rank. But also the way they build the lobbies based on rank is completely different. So they have to build that from scratch. They're not porting over what they have and just changes the parameters. That's completely new,
Right.
in my opinion. I think it's totally different than what they had. So there's a technical hurdle there. But I think why it never came to Warzone 1 goes back to they worked on this for 3 years. Around the time they said, hey, we need a ranked mode for this, they said, hey, it's not going to make it for this game. I think by the time they greenlit Caldera, like the day Caldera launched, Warzone 1 was dead to them. Like they knew it was dead. They knew it was going to be gone. That was the last year of Warzone 1, and that was in the cards. And I don't think we're going to spend any resources on it, because at that point, think about it, like the day Caldera drops, they have to go back. They're not messing with Caldera to make Warzone ranked. They got to go back to Modern Warfare 2019. That's 2 years old. And they got to change that. But every time they touched something on Caldera, they broke 2019 again. Yeah. Right? Like there were huge chunks of time, like a month, where you couldn't load the game because it was just broken.
Right.
Like it just didn't work. And so I think the ability to create a ranked mode in Warzone 1 based on the way the game was, it didn't exist. Like they couldn't do it even if they tried.
Yeah. So it's not just creating a separate playlist. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's perfectly clear. So it's not just creating a separate playlist and attaching diamond, bronze, sapphire, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and then, and that's ranked, that's multiplayer, right? That's easy. You get 4v4, you win, how well you do determines how many skill ranks you get, right?
Right.
Warzone, you got 4-man team, 150 people, only the people who win get it. So I don't know. I don't know the details of how they're going to deal with ranked. How the progression, how it's going to work. And I haven't really played Apex ranked, so I can't compare the two. But there's a lot there. There's a lot they got to figure out, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see what they've come up with when rank drops. But I think it's one of those tasks that you just look at and the game's going to be over. It ain't going to last. They're going to have to do it all over again, and you just punted it in Warzone 2.
I think you're on a perfect balance between someone who's a content creator but's also worked in software and development. You said you have a couple of AAA companies you have a couple of awards right under your belt, working in software and development, correct?
Yes. So some of the projects I shipped, New York Times gave us some awards. We were number 2 on the Webby list one year for one of the projects that I was lead for. And we got a bunch of other accolades, kind of across different.
So humble. Hey, so humble, chat. I love that. That's crazy. All right, so that's you said it so slight. Out of it, chat. Listen, I got that plaque. You guys saw me. I got that plaque. I couldn't stop smiling for a week. Oh man, that's decorated. All right, huge. So I gotta ask you. You've seen all the complaints from content creators and streamers, just like myself. You see it vocalized on Twitter. What's something that you can say is something that content creators, streamers, sweats need to understand about this production, right? Because personally for me, I still feel like no matter what you say, I think to myself in my head, this is a $1 billion company. You are worth billions of dollars. This is one of those things where I think there is no excuse. It was boom or bust to me, and I think this game is a bust. It's been 3-4 months. Too many great players. I've already left the game. You can say, I mean, I think what was that name of the game on Twitch? Something farming. I think like Animal Farming has more views.
Farming Simulator.
Farming Simulator has more people watch. That tells you everything you need to know. So what's something that us as content creators and streamers need to understand about what it's like to be on your end of the shoes?
So one of the things that I think needs to one of the things I think people need to wrap their head around is the scope of the game and what they want to do with it is not, I think, where it was when they launched right now. I think that when they sat down and they had that meeting of like, what is this game going to be like in 3 years when we launch it? I think they envisioned the space being different. I don't think they saw Fortnite launching no build and coming back to life with, you know, a traditional, like a real BR mode instead of the kids just cracked out building houses like in the middle of a gunfight, which too much for me. But
Right, yeah, it's
showing my age.
they're building 5-star
But,
hotels and everything, like.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, it's bigger than my house. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
And then, you know, so I mean, there was that. Apex was at season 4 launched and just really took off. And they've had a big resurgence. Counter-Strike 2 has come out and revitalized multiplayer. Now you have X Defiant coming out, and you have and through all that in the background, you had Dr. Disrespect talking about his extraction looter shooter. And if you think about it, I think that what they saw with what Dr. Disrespect was doing, they see the future of massive multiplayer first-person shooters. All right, I think that's, in my mind, in my opinion, I think that's what they think is going to be the long-term future, and that's what they tried to build.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think right now it's like your favorite sports team goes on a rebuild, right? This game isn't designed to be. Sorry, dogs.
You're good.
A day. This game isn't supposed to be a 6-month game, right? This is going to be what they have 5 years. And it's going to, look at Warzone 1. Warzone 1 is drastically different at the end of Caldera, right? Compared to where it started, right? Just pull pictures of the buy station on day 1, right? There's like nothing in it. It's like totally different, totally different. And I think that everybody should look at where the state of the game is now and know that it's not going to stay that way. They've already changed so much, and they're already working on changing more. And they've said that, right? And we've seen them making changes. But I think the thing they're not going to do is just reboot the game in the middle of it, right? They're not going to fire sale every little thing and just try and restart it, because it's just going to be a mess, right? Mm-hmm. The player, the casual players are going to freak out and quit. They're going to break everything if they do that. So all the streamers are going to quit because it's broken, and so they're taking kind of like a sports team, right? They're, all their big stars retired. San Jose Sharks, and they have to go and start over. They have to find talent, grow the talent, and kind of bring that back up. And so, you look at, I'm going to use the example of Pittsburgh Penguins. They were dog shit in the league for several years, and then they got Sidney Crosby, they got Evgeny Malkin, and all of a sudden they couldn't be beat for a decade. Mm-hmm. And I think right now, there's some number 1 picks in the draft coming up, and Warzone is going to be in a good spot probably in a couple of months. You think it will be? I think so. I think, if you look at where the feedback was back at Next, if you look at the feedback back at launch and over the first couple of months of the game, even go to Christmas, right? You go to where the feedback was at Christmas, and then look where the game is now, and look at how many things that people have said need to be in the game and are here now, and know that that's how long it takes to create that stuff and put it in the game successfully.
It's been very well noted from a lot of people who are at Next. There's really only maybe 200 of them. You're familiar with Modern Warzone. There's a lot of other big names that were there. And they came out and they said, yeah, we capped. The Next, they hated it. They didn't like the game when they played it. So I assume that sentiment that they echoed was like, oh, well, the future didn't look good. But I'm glad you're being very optimistic about it, because I got to be honest, you're more knowledgeable about this space than I am, especially from a technical level. I just look at the game. Mm-hmm. I know how to shoot my gun, and I know where to move and where to rotate to. And personally, for me, go ahead.
So think about this. Like Next, it's not a playtest, right? It's not there to demo, to find bugs. When creators got their hands on the build that they had at Next, which was, according to them, already months old, mm-hmm. At that time, there was a new build that had a lot of stuff in it, and there was probably 1,000 bugs and 1,000 issues and 1,000, we call them nice to haves, that are logged, ready, that are being worked on. Okay, and then you pile on all the things that people want on it. They're not going to get to that list that people want until they can clear out the critical problems that they know already exist in what they have, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of like you go out and you buy a car, and it's like, all right, I want to put new rims on, I want to put new tires on, I want to put a fin on the back, I want to drop a new engine in it, right? And you have all this stuff you're working on. Well, I mean, you got to drive the car from the dealership to your house before you can start doing that, right? You can't sit on the side of the road and put new tires on. So, they had to take the game out. They had to get it out the door when they said they would because of, contractual reasons and all because of other stuff going on. But they shipped, I guarantee they had 1,000, 2,000 bugs that were marked as critical that had to be addressed before anything else could get done. Mm-hmm. And they worked on those first. And then while they did that, they started looking at the feedback and they, again, creator feedback, right? But they're also looking at their game feedback, right? What are all the little, what does all the data in the game tell them that people like, tell them that what people are happy with,
right?
And they're going to look at them both, and they're going to say, well, if the feedback from creators says everybody hates, or everybody if the feedback from creators says everybody hates the close range TTK, but the reality is people find a lot of success with it, they're not going to mess with it too much, right? Even though it feels wrong.
It so feels wrong. That's crazy. Right? It's like, no. You only have success because you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. So it's like, how true is that data?
And that's where a data, that's where data science is, right? Like that's what data science has to decide. And so if they have data that says things are good and the game goes on and that same data changes over time, right?
Yeah.
Then okay, clearly we're missing something, right? They have to make that decision. And so I think when people go out and they say, oh my God, the TTK is so fast, they can look at the data and say, for months, everybody seemed happy. They kept playing, right? Everybody on Twitter who said they quit playing and they're never touching it again. Well, they've been on, 8 hours a day for the last month, right? So, right, clearly they don't hate it that much because they keep coming back, right?
Yeah.
But then if they stop coming back, right, they can look at it and go, okay, look at all these people that stopped coming back. Maybe there's something to their complaints because they're focused on the data set and we see a change in how things work. So that's a process that starts the conversation of, hey, we need to make a change.
The idea that they said, hey, everybody likes the fire shotty, everybody's using it. It's so like you can't use anything else. Your personal opinion, do you believe? Just yes or no. Just give me a yes or no, and then you can go into, are the weapons balanced in this game?
I think the long range guns are very balanced. I think everything that is effective beyond 50 meters is balanced. I think close range is a hot mess because the TTK is so fast. And I think that they need to continue making adjustments on that. I mean, look, I love the Chimera because I can walk up to somebody and melt them in like the blink of an eye. But then I get melted by it and it's the biggest piece of shit ever. And I'm so pissed off. How dare they?
Right. I think to myself that the average person can't react that fast. You're dead in less than a second. Mm-mm. The TTK is less. You have no chance to react. So even regardless of all that metadata, right? They think about this in the context of who's our biggest consumer, the average person who comes home, wants to just kick back and play with his boys, right? Not the content creators, not the streamers that want to slide cancel and stimmy. So I think to myself, even that logic alone tells them the TTK shouldn't be that fast. So is all of this information solely based off of the data they gather? I'm sorry to interrupt.
I imagine so. I mean, they're gonna look. I guarantee there are people at Activision whose job it is to sit on Twitter and monitor what people think and what people say. Somebody when you tag them, somebody sees that.
They're failing. Chat, find them. Find the burner. Chat, find the burner.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, you have somebody whose sole job is to sit there and be told that they suck at their job 24 hours a day.
24/7.
So they just scroll, right? It's like, okay, screw that guy, right?
Right.
But they're called community managers. And so
they're called community managers.
What?
I never knew there was a title for that. Wow, it's cool.
And so the
be on LinkedIn tomorrow.
They do a lot more, but they catch the they catch the brunt of it. But something like close range TT or like average TTK, I think is something like 600 milliseconds in this game.
Jesus Christ!
I think it was JGod or somebody else had an average TTK for the peak Warzone. You know what it was?
Peak Warzone 1.
Warzone 1, mid of Black Ops.
Mid Black Ops, EM2. Was that the DM? No, DMR was mid Black Ops, right, chat? Had to be it DMR Mac 10, had to be 0.34. Had to be. Well, am I close?
I mean, average. So average would like combine all the different guns, right?
Oh, okay. Even maybe even then, 0.4. Final answer.
You think 0.4? I mean,
You couldn't react.
I
It was
just said
too
it's
strong.
0.6. But you know, here, so that's the thing, right? The TTK at 250 health right now is the same in most scenarios, is the same as the TTK in Warzone 1 at 250 health. Like the M4 in both games.
Yeah.
The Fennec before they nerfed it. The Fennec killed to 250 plates. It killed to 250 plates or health. Almost exactly the same in both games.
Jesus, brother.
So Warzone has always killed very fast, but I think what really drags it out is the movement is not the same. You can't avoid the fight. So like if you snuck up on somebody in Warzone 1 and you gun them in the back with a Fennec, like they're gone. Like they're not reacting. They're toast.
Yeah.
But if you start hitting them and they see that, they could move. I think that's where it feels slower when the raw data says it's not. And I think that's the problem that Activision is wrestling with. Of it feels faster because you're slower, but if you slow it down, does that really improve the situation? And judging from the way that they've reacted to the TTK, I don't know that they believe that. I think they think that the movement is the problem and not the TTK.
Hold on, I'm sorry, 1 second. You know, so let me ask you this. I did kind of going back to not the TTK issue. I want to like backtrack for a second because I didn't want to miss this point. There was a time where they put Neymar, Messi, and who was it? Another soccer player as a bundle pack, right?
Yeah.
I find it so interesting how before they nerfed the Fennec and the RPK, they thought it was important to put Neymar and Messi, and I think it's Pablo or something like that. I will say, I think most of the research I've done shows that there's two different departments that handle bundles and that handle like TTKs. So it's not like,
oh yeah, they're not connected.
They're not connected at all. I feel like chat. I this is no matter what. I have never seen the store not working. Never, not once. The store has been primed and ready to go. Every single it's the first thing that pops up on your screen. Literally.
Sometimes it's the only thing that you can get to.
The only thing you can
but
get
it's
into.
Always one.
Rep always works. I gotta ask. It's a little funny to me, right? I get it. They have a bottom line. They gotta make their money. I respect it. But at this point, it doesn't even sit with the store as a place. Like the bundles suck. I've been using the same character because it's terrible. I gotta ask you: is there a creative side, and then there's a development side, and then there's a marketing side, and all three of those work independent of each other to figure out what people want, how to create it, and whether or not it's something that they can do.
And you have an art team and a creative team, and their job is to create. You know, they'll have a sub team that their job is to create skins and create bundles. And you have a research team whose job it is to look at previous sales of like what's popular, what people like, and then you have another team that goes and looks at other games and says what sells in those other games, right? That's why we have so many anime skins.
Yeah.
They look at like Apex and Fortnite, like, there's people that like that. So they go, okay, well, people like that. And so I think that Infinity Ward, they like a boots on the ground, realistic milsim game. They've always liked that. And you look back at some of their earliest games, I mean, that's what their bread and butter is. They want someone who is just finished their tour of duty in Iraq to come back and look at a game and go, holy crap, man, that's what it was like. That's what they want. They want it to sound that way. They want it to look that way. They want it to feel that way. And they've got marketing. You can go online and you can find videos of military vets that play the game, and they're just like, holy crap, this game is realistic. And that is the game that they want to make. But The problem is that's not the game that everyone wants to spend money for. And so what happened, and this is where this is one of the things of like creator versus casual that comes up a lot. And in my opinion, I don't think that creators push people to the game as much as they think they do. But I'll tell you one thing they do. One thing creators do very well, it's get people to buy skins, and you do it by making loadout videos. And you look at what was not doing well, and people weren't
you
making.
said, hold on, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more? You said creators do a great job of getting people to buy skins through loadout
skins
videos
and blueprints. Mm-hmm. So you create you look at Cold War and you look at Caldera, especially the meta changed in Caldera weekly sometimes. Like you could go 5 weeks and have 5 different metas, right? And and then they drop a new gun and it all changes. So every time that happens, every time there's a change, the best gun to use is different.
Absolutely.
And what happens is creators go online and they sit there and they figure it out and they create their video, and then the phrase that was in every creator's video: here's how to unlock this gun if you haven't done it yet, or you can buy this bundle in the store. Unlock the gun this way or buy it in the store. And everybody used that line because it was true, right? If or they'd sit there and Godzilla skin was cool, right? Everybody liked the Godzilla gun, and it happening meta at the time, right? But everybody would show it off and be like, look at this cool skin, right? And here's the loadout for it. And that was a bread and butter. I've seen so many creators being like, I hate making these videos, but I have to because they do so well.
Yeah.
They get so many views because everyone wants to know, what should I run? And you sit there and you say, I'm going to watch 5 videos, and all 5 of them have this really cool skin on it. And like, I want that. Hey, what? It's only 1,200 COD points. Why not? There's my skin.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's guilty of that. So, but that's the thing, right? As soon as that went away at the launch of Warzone 2, because what was the meta? It was the Fennec and it was the RPK, and it was that way for months.
Yep.
Right? How many times can you tell someone to build a meta the same, the RPK the same way? Like twice, and then it's like, great, everyone's got it. Everyone's got all the attachments. It's ready to go. That nobody cares, right? They're not pushing it. There's nothing new to put out there. There's no reason to change anything. And I think at that, somewhere in that span, Call of Duty people, somebody in Call of Duty went, whoa, we missed this part. People aren't going to buy soccer. Like, who cares? At least in the US, who cares about soccer?
Right.
Right. And I'm sure I just offended like half your chat, but
okay.
But it's like, all right, you have these soccer bundles. You had that little soccer mode, like they leaned into the World Cup, which was cool if you like that. And I know a lot of people that do, and they're into it, but I don't care. And so I didn't buy any of it. I had no interest. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to participate. And I think most people have that thing. And you look at this, you look at all the skins that they launched with, and they're all just, military, drab, olive, boring, and no one's pushing them anyways. And so I think the combination of they've had to shift the meta, they've had to balance it so there's a reason to make loadout videos, and they've had to put crazy skins and things out there that people are going to talk about. And that's, you look around, like this week, I've seen at least 5 videos comparing how they're just asking us to rebuy skin, guns, blueprints that we've had before, or skins that we've had before. They just change the color on it, right? It looks exactly the same. But you know what? Everyone's advertising them again. Everyone's putting the videos out there and showcasing these guns that, frankly, half of them look really cool. So, the wheel is churning now, right? Creators are, even though they're in a negative way talking about the game, for the people that are still playing the game, they're going to, see the video and go, "Oh man, I can't believe they would redo my favorite skin and sell it back to me. Take my money."
Right. So
I think
it seems sort of backwards. It's like, oh, we don't want that, but I'll take it anyway because it's like I had it before.
Yeah, and it's like I liked it, right? And so I think I think in terms of how the monetization of the game is going, it's been very poor because even with a strong player base, there hasn't been anything for them to spend money on. So they're just wasting Activision's money by playing a free game that they're not, donating to. And I think Activision is making changes right now, and they're putting a lot of effort in to make creators happy without destroying the casual experience, so that the creators can sell blueprints and skins to the casuals.
I have a very solid following on YouTube, and I do polls pretty often. And I just like to ask people blatantly, like, hey, how do you guys feel about the game? And more often than not, I'll get a couple thousand replies. I think one of them had like 11,000 replies, and I think 70% of them said they didn't like it, the game. There's not that many content. I don't have that many content creators following me, so it's like I find it very hard to believe that there is this line of communication based off of the data that you were talking about. There's a line of communication that isn't there, and the data that they're gathering from these casual players is telling them and reinforcing that information that they do enjoy the game.
How many people do you think consume on a monthly basis content? Like how many individuals are consuming content? Not how many views total. Like, because same person can watch 10 different videos, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one person. How many people are consuming content
on a monthly basis? I mean, daily it's got to be over 100 million. I would say on a monthly basis, man.
Do you think 100 million people are consuming Call of Duty content?
Oh, I thought you meant content in general. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh no. Call of Duty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
A way smaller portion. Maybe 300,000 to 200,000. And I would say For You page is probably a big version of that. Not even people like going onto YouTube and directly looking for Call of Duty content.
Mm-hmm. My guess is that the number of individuals who actively go out and consume Call of Duty content on purpose, right? Not just it showed up in their feed, but they go and seek it out and they want to watch it.
Right.
I think is probably 1 to 2 million total. Like that's how many people. That's the pool of people that consume the content.
That's really good. That's a lot more than I thought. I got to be honest. I thought it was a lot less than that.
Mm-hmm. And so if you look at peak players in Warzone,
yeah.
And Call of Duty as a whole, like their peak is 150 million. That's
when?
So the percentage of people that are
okay.
in peak Black Ops, right? 150 million people were playing.
That was an amazing game.
And
It was great.
Yeah, and so if you look, if you what, 1 million, 2 million people out of 150 million are consuming content. The rest of them, they don't watch anything. And I think there's a relationship between the people who don't watch anything and who play the game very casually. And they have, a lot of them have very bad KDs. A lot of them don't do very well.
Right.
And
he's not talking to you, chat. Nobody in the chat. Nobody in the chat.
I'm talking about, my friends, right? Like the people that I play with. This is them. I'm describing them. Okay.
Right.
I get ripped on because I'm the only one that reads the patch notes. I watch the videos. I know these, I'm the guy that they go, hey, what's changed this week, right? I have to tell them, and then they don't listen to me, and then they die. And then they go, oh, why did I die like that? And I'm like, oh, because you didn't read the patch notes.
Right.
But the point is, like, the entire ecosystem, the creators, the consumers of the creators' content, and all of that, drop in the bucket compared to the people that actually play the game. And so I think if you take the entire ecosystem of the creators and their viewers and the people that interact on, Modern Warzone's polls and all of that, they're going to skew more towards, they're more invested in the game. They know the game better than most, even if they're not good at it, right? Even if they're not particularly great at it, they're invested in it and they care about having the game that they want to play. And that's why I think there's a discrepancy between the data that they see in Activision HQ and what we express and we see in our feeds. And I think because the people that just enjoy the game, there's a lot of them, and they're just playing the game, and they log off, and they go to bed, and they wake up, and they go to work, and they come back, and they log in again.
Yeah. As far as QA testing goes, there's been a lot of clamor around that. I don't know how that works. I don't really have any theories about it. So, again, if I want to provide a conspiracy theory, I'm hoping you can debunk any of this, but I don't have one about that. Sure. What does that process look like? And do you feel like the process that Activision currently has in place for QA testing has been efficient thus far?
I don't know what Activision's specifically, like what their process is. I can tell you what the process that I've used in the past, what I've been a part of. And essentially what will happen is if we're launching a new product, okay, a developer will put their code, it's called putting it into test. Let's say I have a product that's ready to go. I need eyes on it. I need to know what's not working. And now they don't believe that anything's not working. They think it's perfect. That's just engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's mad at me now.
Right,
guarantee
right.
it.
Someone is.
But the engineer will build a product. They will put it into test, and then it'll be put into a queue and assigned a priority. So if it's an important fix or an important product, it gets high priority, gets a lot of attention. Something that's a lower priority, right, will just can languish for sometimes weeks before anybody even looks at it.
Right.
So a project goes into test, and then somebody in QA will be assigned to it, and they will start. They will have a description of like, here's what the product does, here's what the result should be when it's finished, and here's how I think you should test it. And so they'll say like, all right, boot up this program and push the blue button, then push the red button, then push the green button, and then you should get a display and a message that's saying congratulations, you push the buttons. And so from a QA's point of view, I pull it up, I do all the things, it does what it says, and then I push them in a different order and it breaks, and then I turn it on its side and it breaks, and I do all these anything you can do to break it, right? And every time I do something, then I would write out, here's what I did, here's the results, here's here's a screen capture of it happening, and here's how to reproduce it.
Right.
And then and then that gets sent back to the developer, and the developer then usually there's on a new test they'll be hit sometimes with 30-40 bugs in like an hour, and then you can hear them screaming sometimes like, what the fuck are these people doing? That's a good day.
Right, that's a good day.
from a QA point of view. But then they have to go through and they have to fix it, right? And so when this happens, you're working in isolation, right? This is like a test environment that's designed around this product. So what'll happen is then once that product is ironed out and all the bugs that they're going to fix are fixed, then it gets put into a private testing environment that's a replication of what's live, right? And now it's interacting with everything else. Mm-hmm. And so now you have to take that little thing that you made and you have to test it against everything on this, on the site or in the app or in the game that anybody could possibly do, right? And so if you think about something like Call of Duty, right? Like, all right, I want to take a redeploy. How many things can a redeployed balloon interact with? Ground, people shooting it, two people running into it, hitting with a plane or a helicopter, like shooting at it, right? The list could be endless, right? There's no way you're going to think of every possible thing. Okay, that's how bugs make it out into real life. But
there's probably
assuming that you get in there, you test it.
There's probably 12-year-old kids trying to find some way to break it too, doing the most throwing a flash grenade at it. Like, who would do that? So I can see that.
Yeah, and so what'll happen is you sit there and you test it, you find more bugs, you report them, and while it's in this test environment, it's going to start interacting with other products that are new, right? Other things that other developers are doing that are on other tests, and now you start combining these things, and that's where you get some really interesting interaction. So in my experience, it wasn't in a game. We were building a website that was cutting edge for its time, and it was very customizable. You could build your own website with all kinds of other things going on and media and graphics and interactions, and you could have stuff automation in it. And I mean, there was a lot going on. This was like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so we would put something into this environment and it would start colliding with these other tests that are going on that we thought we had solved, right? Like we didn't think a problem like this was going on. And what was happening is you're breaking code in ways because you have people developing product in isolation from each other, right? And they're calling, so like if you think about adding something to the map in Warzone, right? Like a redeploy balloon, right? You think, oh, I just have a little stand and the balloon, and I plop it down on the map, and that's how it works, right? And you walk up to this element and you interact with it. In the code, you got to think about it like you're planting a tree, and it's got these roots that go down inside the game code, and it's going to connect to all these different elements, right? It's going to call all this stuff that other developers or other engineers who are working on other projects might interact with and not realize that they're conflicting.
Right.
And that's how you get things like, remember the infinite stim glitch?
Oh my God, but I loved it. Yeah.
And that sort of thing comes across because you have people who are working on the stim, right? And that slot and how that's interacting with the world around it. And you have people working on some other project, right? And somewhere in the back end, they're colliding.
Yeah.
Right? They're crossing wires, and that's how you get that infinite glitch. And the problem is you could have 10 different wires and they're like this, right? And as soon as 2 wires touch, it's back, right? So you redirect these wires. And now it's touching here. So you redirect that wire, right? But it's so intertwined. And the more stuff you add in, the more of these connections are going to cross, and you're going to get stuff popping up in unexpected ways.
Got it.
And so that's the challenge of QA. It's not just, I can push all the buttons on a product. It's I'm going to push all the buttons on the product over here while I put buttons over here and see what blows up.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you do that, and some developers like, who would do that?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And the answer is because someone's gonna.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So when people like me complain, like there's really no buy stations on this side of the map, adding in multiple buy stations isn't as simple as just replementing a code from previous buy stations. Like, hey, they've had one here before, they took it out. Why can't they just add it back? It's not as simple as just putting it back because it might interact with some other elements in the game that they did add.
So one of the things that you'll notice is like buy stations are always in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not just like randomly going to appear in a tree, right? Because what they do is they will hard code a place on the map and say a buy station can go here. No other asset can interact with this space because this will be a buy station.
Okay.
Right? And they'll put those markers all over the map. And then the way that it works right now is you have so you might have 30 different places you could place a buy station, but you only have 20 buy stations, right? So some areas won't get a buy station. And so when you say, I want to add more buy stations, well, the choice is you can either add, fill out those 20 buy stations, or fill out the 30 buy station slots you already have, but that doesn't really necessarily solve the problem,
right?
Because they're not in the right spot. So you have to add these things, but these markers for buy stations, they'll have hooks and they'll have code that is trying to reach the, hey, a buy station goes here, commands and all these other things going on that can mess up other parts of the game if they're colliding, right? So there's more to it than just, I'm going to take an icon and drag and drop and put it here, and then that's a new buy station. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I feel like, again, a lot of these topics in my head, I feel like, they're just so simple. Like, why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? Add this mechanic back in there. So I guess when you give it insight like that, it makes you a little bit more understanding. But I hate to say it, and I know that when I get off of this call, I'm gonna be like, that was a great call. He had a lot of great points, but I'm gonna still think this is $1 billion company. Like, I have no remorse. I'm like, I say 2 things, man. Fix the audio, fix the servers, and you will never hear me bitch and moan. You will never hear me cry again. So that's that.
I think those are both great fixes.
The audio, yeah. I want to ask for movement, but I understand what that's gonna do. Forget it. Fine. I don't even need the movement anymore. I don't care. Just keep it, right? It's great for content creation, but I mean, if you don't have it, you don't have it. So from your perspective, I guess from the outside looking in, but you still have that experience. What are some things that Activision, this is call it Infinity Ward, since they're actually working on the game, what are some things that they've messed up on? Like, you think like, hey, these are probably things that they should have fixed, aside from the hacking where you said, they probably got caught with their pants down, where you say, hey, these are things that they should have fixed, or these are things that probably even as hard of fixes as that the average person would imagine, that you feel like should have been implemented in the game already. So I guess you can call them areas for improvement.
I mean, the servers, man. Like, the servers have got to get fixed.
Yeah.
Like, they got to figure out what's killing it, because look, the servers themselves, like, the hardware is what it is. I don't know how long they're locked into their contract. I don't know how hard it is for them to move. I mean, I've been part of a team that moved a code base from a dedicated server set to AWS, and that was a nightmare of, like, it had to be perfect. Like, it was, we're going to move the company from this computer to this one without interrupting anybody. And if we screw it up, the company disappears like that.
Jesus.
Like they were out of a job, right? Gone.
Has that ever happened
Millions
before?
of customers, very angry. No, because
You're the best. You're the
I was
best.
there.
Yeah,
Right,
you're the
right.
best. Right?
But companies do that. Like I worked for a company where we've put something through test and we didn't check the login page when we shipped it. We shipped a fix. It was little. It had nothing to do with logging in, but we broke login. Like nobody could log in for like 12 hours.
Whole day off, right?
Yeah, like we all went to bed, woke up, everybody was angry.
Wow.
So, it's one of those things of like, but those little mistakes, like if you don't test everything exactly right 1,000 times, like you can screw it up. So Call of Duty, right? If they want to move servers, like there's big risk that they delete everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that it's not, and there's mitigations, there's ways to do it that is probably not as dangerous as, it was for my company when we did it because we were, smaller. But it's not just, upgrade the servers, right? It's complicated, it's expensive, and has risk. So I get it. Like I get why they're still on these servers from 10 years ago or whatever they are.
Yeah.
But something in their code, something in the way that they're interacting and using the servers is not right. It to me, it feels like they've got problems that keep coming up. And I don't know what the answer for that is.
Yeah.
They got to figure something out internally, but that's, I don't know how to tell them to fix it, but they got to figure it out.
Got you, brother. You have been absolutely phenomenal. I love everything that you've said. Very articulate. I'm surprised that you're already not even in the field currently. I know you said that you're, looking for a spot right now to call home, but brother, if there's any place that I could recommend you to, please, for the love of God, go to Activision. Give me a ring when you're there, bro. I don't need money. I don't need an endorsement. I just want to know what's going on. I got to ask you this, right? This is the last question I want to ask you. This is perfect for anybody who's a casual and a content creator, a streamer, someone who wants a well-balanced play style. I am the first one to bitch and moan about everything that's wrong with this game, but I also know that once I put the controller down and that clarity comes back to me and I'm not like locked into the game, I think, all right, well, it's not going to be perfect, but I still feel like right now there's no excuse for the game to be this bad. What's some silver lining that you can give? What's something that you can tell us where you can say, hey, there's work that needs to be done. This is where we hold, you can say, where do you hold Activision accountable? And then where do you tell us like, hey, take your panties off and stop crying like it's just a video game?
So I think Activision has some accountability that comes for things like their communication. I think it's been bad. I think that, I know why they're not telling us. It's because, look at Expel. He had the best interest. He worked so hard to just kind of bring things to light. And look how hard the devs took it. Like they were just like, and I think what we need to do is, I think we need to change our approach of how we complain to Activision. Instead of saying, hey, you guys are dog shit, stop it. It needs to be like, hey, I ran into this problem. Here's what I did to run into it. And here's how you can run into it. Like, here's how to replicate it. Like, they need that. Like, that's feedback they need. They don't need to know that you hate their movement because they know that. Like, I guarantee they know that.
Yeah.
But they're not going to tell you why they did what they did because, people, and not you individually, but, people that hate the movement are going to hate it anyways. Like, they're not going to care why it is what it is. And so they're just, and then, server, today they acknowledged the server issue. So that is the first time, right, in maybe all of Warzone 2 history that they've said, yeah, we have server issues. We know. Mm-hmm. And so, I think pushing for a response the right way is helpful from a creator's point of view. Like just screaming at them never helps. I don't know if you've ever done customer service, but you get a customer who could have the most best reason to be pissed off. But if they start screaming at you, the minute you pick up the phone, you're just kind of like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. Whatever you have to say, I'm just going to hold my phone like this. When you're quiet, I'll say, check back in 2 weeks. It might be fixed.
Right.
And so, I mean, I feel like that's where the devs are right now. They're just, you know, the people working in the game, they're just like, you're just going to scream at me if I talk to you, so leave me alone. So we need, like, content creators need to change their approach a little bit. Like, you know, Call of Duty knows, like, they know what's wrong. I mean, they do. And like I've said, it takes time to fix it, right? It's like, you know, Titanic sunk because they couldn't turn in time, right? They're trying to turn it, right? I don't know if that's the right example. Maybe it's the perfect example. They're trying to turn it. They know the iceberg hit, brother. There.
The iceberg hit.
They know it's there. They know it's there, and they're turning the boat, right? But they can't turn it any faster, right? Like the wheel's at its stop, and so yelling at the guy holding the wheel, "There's an iceberg there! Turn the boat!" They're like it doesn't go any further to the side.
Right.
And so, you know, I think the game will be fine at the end of the day when it's been out, you know, a few more months of changes. But I think where we're at right now is they're still turning, they're still making changes. We need to find a way to be a little bit patient. I mean, they're giving us things drip by drip. They're making little changes. They're seeing how it reacts. They're seeing where they can make more changes. And they're going to, you know, it's going to be probably every couple of weeks they're going to make some changes. And, you know, I think if we look at gaming, if we look at the state of the game in June and compare it to December, it'll be two totally different games.
I pray to God.
And,
right.
Yeah. And so I think that's where it's going to be. I think we're going to be in a good spot. But the thing to keep in mind is that this is not a game that's going to be over and done and ended in November when they launched the 2023 COD. It's going to be 4 or 5 years before they have a major revision.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Little changes now, you know, a painful period now while they get things in a really good spot for the future. I mean, like, it sucks, but it's like rebuilding a sports team. You suffer through the bad team where, you know, they just lose a lot no matter how much they try.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they're going to start clicking. They got the right pieces in place, and then they're going to be taking it to the championship year after year after year.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I get it. You know, I think, and I'll say this to my chat too. Like they know, you know, at the peak of Rebirth, I peaked pretty late in Warzone 1. So I mean, I was talking about like I got maybe like 100K subscribers like a matter of 2 months, and you know, every video was just doing great. And then to go from that to where, you know, I might be lucky to get like 100 people in the stream at one time. I don't want to blame the game, but the game is probably the biggest reason why. You can look at the viewers on Twitch.
Boring to watch. I'll tell you. Look, I like to play the game. I've been having fun with the game. I mean, season 2 is probably my roughest point, but I've been having fun with the game in general. Technical issues aside, but I hate watching it because it's boring. Like it doesn't have that action adventure feel that, you know, Rebirth would have. Like I can watch Rebirth videos of, you know, kids just steamrolling through, you know, 4 stacks, no big deal. And then here it's like they run in and they just get smoked. And it's like, who wants to watch that, right?
Right.
So I get it from a creative point of view. It's like I do shorts, like I just do little like 10, 15 second gameplay shorts. That's mostly my creative side of it. Like that's what I enjoy putting up.
Cool.
And I have, you know, I struggle to get enough to fill, you know, one a day. Like and I try. I push bad spots to see if I can get a clip out of it.
Right.
And, you know, I'm that guy. I'm that guy in the squad that everyone's like, dude, there were 3 guys there and we told you. And I'm like, shut up.
I need content, bro. I needed content. I did it for the content. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So you know, I
respect
think it's, you know, so I think from a creator's point of view, like I totally understand. Like it sucks to watch. No one wants to watch this game. Because it's just not an enjoyable game to watch. But for I think a lot of the people that aren't on Twitter, they don't watch videos, like they're having fun playing it. You know, technical issues aside, like when the game is working and they're vibing, like they're having fun. And I think that's the problem that creators are having and the top end players are having, is that they're fighting against a sea of people that are just they're content with the way things are in a lot of ways, not all of the ways, and you know, and not everybody, but I think a lot of people have been content with it. And you know, in the last couple of weeks, I think last month or so, I'd say the sentiment has turned a lot for a lot of people for various reasons. But I think overall, for most of the first couple of months, a lot of people playing have been happy.
Yeah. Eric, you're fucking awesome. Chat, I need a fucking dubs in the chat. I need a dub train for my boy Eric, man. I will say this: a lot of people can't really articulate the problems with Activision. And again, I know you don't work for them, so I'm gonna make that as a disclaimer. Every short, every video, don't clip this. Right? He is not an employee of Activision. Right? I'm hoping he will be one day, so that he can just solve all the problems. It'll bring slide canceling back.
No, because then you're gonna yell at me for a reason.
No, I will tell you at him on Twitter, right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and drop his Twitter, his kick, right? Only Twitter and Kick and YouTube.
Yeah.
Twitter, Kick, and YouTube, guys. I'm gonna drop that in the chat. Man, listen, brother, I know I've been talking your head off all night, man. I'm supposed to have a Goober night with my Goobers. I'm just gonna like run with the squad and everything like that. But if you want to tap in, that's perfectly fine. I gotta take a break for like 20 minutes or something. So I'm gonna restart stream chat. Eric, you've been fucking great. Stay here though. I'm not gonna hang up just yet. Chat, give me like 15 minutes max. Chat, give me like a 15-minute break. I'm gonna go grab some water. I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick, and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna restart the stream, and then we're gonna have a Goober night. So if you're not in the Kick stream, I'm only gonna be adding people in the Kick stream. Jump over to the Kick right now. It's pinned in the comments. Alton Booty. I'm gonna see you guys in a second. All right. 1 second.